Good morning, everyone. We have Reeve Link is on the line today, and Councillor Kester is online today, so we're doing a hybrid meeting. I'll call the meeting to order. Council is conducting this meeting in person and via conference call in accordance with the Municipal Government Act, Section 199. Council chambers is open for public attendance in person. However, councillors and members of the public may still join meetings remotely using our teleconference process. If you have submitted a comment request to administration prior to the meeting, the chair will call upon you at the appropriate time. The chair may also ask for comments and concerns from the public relating to a particular topic, and this time the phone lines will be unmuted. If you'd like to speak, please state your name. Individuals will be allotted 5 minutes to speak or 10 minutes for a group as per our procedural bylaw. If the meeting is recessed, callers will be put on hold until the meeting reconvenes, with the exception at noon, where callers will be asked to call back in. This helps with call quality. Please note this meeting is being recorded and may be uploaded to our website and or social media. To eliminate background noise, everyone please mute your phones during the meeting. We also ask attendees mute their devices to reduce disruptions to the meeting. Everyone has a right to be present at council meetings and council committee meetings. Any attendees that are considered disrupted to the progression of this meeting may be removed at the discretion of the chair. As per Municipal Government Act, Section 198, we thank you for your cooperation and understanding. We will be doing a roll call to see who's here. So I will go around the room. Reeve Link, are you here?
Good morning, I am.
Councillor Kester, are you here?
Yes, I am. Good morning.
And everybody else here, Shannon, the priest here?
Present.
Councillor Bigger?
Present.
Councillor Eichert?
Present.
I'm here. Councillor Lowerson?
Here.
Okay, so I've got that part done. So we have an agenda in front of us. Is there any additions and or deletions? Seeing none, hearing none. Motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Motion on the floor. Any discussion? I'll call the question via roll call. Reeve Link?
In favor.
Okay. Councillor Kester?
In favor.
Councillor Priest?
In favor.
Councillor Bigger?
Favor.
Councillor Eichert?
In favor.
I'm in favor. Councillor Lowerson?
In favor.
And that's carried. So I will recess from the regular council meeting as we have 2 public hearings this morning. And I have another spiel to read. Good morning, everyone. As per Section 193, the procedural bylaw 23-03, the public hearing will be conducted in the following order. Staff report by administration, presentation by the applicant, presentations by the public in support of the proposal, presentations by the public in opposition to the proposal, rebuttal presentation by the applicant limited only to the comments read or heard in opposition to the proposal, and final questions of administration. After that, we'll close the public hearing and possible motions will come out of that. The applicant will have a maximum of 20 minutes to present. Any individuals supporting or opposing the proposal will have up to 5 minutes to speak. Any groups or individuals will have up to 10 minutes to speak. The applicant will then have a maximum of 10 minutes to present their rebuttal. If there are any questions related to this process, please refer to our procedural bylaw. So, can administration please verify that the public hearing was circulated in accordance with the Municipal Government Act?
Good morning. Yes, the notice of the public hearing was circulated in accordance with the Act. Responses received by the county can be found on page 16 of Council's agenda package, and there were no late submissions.
I should state, sorry, my apologies, that we are dealing with bylaw 24-10, land redesignation, AG to CR, and this is the public hearing for that.
Deputy Reeve Clausen, just a point from administration. We'll need a motion to open the public hearing as well.
I was going to read this and motion to the, if that works. Okay. Is there any written submissions that are not in the public package?
No.
Okay, and if anybody comes to the podium to speak, we ask that you speak your name and address for the record. So with that, I need a motion to move Move to open the public hearing for 24-10.
Also move.
There's a motion on the floor from Councillor Bigger. Any discussion? Not, I'll call the question. Reeve Link? I'll come back. Councillor Kester?
In favor.
Councillor Breeze?
In favor.
Councillor Bigger?
In favor.
Councillor Eichert?
In favor.
I'm in favor. Councillor Larson?
In favor.
Reeve Link, are you on the line? That's carried. So the public hearing is good. Proceed.
Good morning, Council. Taylor Felt with the county's Planning and Development Services team, here to present Bylaw 2024-10 for Council's consideration. Referring to the location map found on page 7 of Council's agenda package, the subject lands are located 6 kilometers northeast of the town of Strathmore, 1.2 kilometers south of the intersection of Township Road 250 and Range Road 211, immediately east of Range Road 211. The application proposes to redesignate 12 acres within Southwest 33-2424 west of the 4th Meridian from the Agricultural General District to the Country Residential District in order to create 4 3-acre parcels and a 147.07 acre remainder. The lands are currently used for agricultural production, and the applicants intend to continue farming the remainder lands in the future. The surrounding lands of the proposed site here are currently used for residential and agricultural purposes as well. There are 4 existing country residential parcels immediately west of Range Road 244, 3 of which are developed with dwellings and accessory buildings. The applicant provided several technical documents in support of their proposal, including a transportation impact assessment, preliminary stormwater management plan, and water and wastewater servicing studies, all of which were reviewed by the county's third-party engineers. I'll briefly summarize the findings of the studies here. The transportation impact assessment anticipates that future development is not expected to impact Range Road 244 or other county roadways in the area. New approaches will be required for each of the proposed lots, which should be sited immediately opposite of the existing approaches in order to reduce traffic safety risks. The applicant's preliminary stormwater management plan calls for the installation of bioretention areas at locations where the majority of runoff leaves each of the proposed lots. The county's third-party engineers reviewed the plan and they're satisfied with the level of detail that was provided at this stage. However, they do note that more detailed stormwater planning will be required at later development stages. The applicants provided a Phase 1 groundwater supply assessment and a Level 3 private sewage treatment system assessment with their application, and the county's engineers found no concerns with the findings. The proposal generally aligns with the municipal development plan, specifically the agricultural policies found in Section 3, which aim to minimize fragmentation and subdivision of the lands and maximize continuous agricultural lands. The proposal does not exceed the 20-acre maximum non-agricultural area of the quarter section and will not result in more than 5 parcels within the quarter. At this stage, the supporting documents provided by the applicants demonstrate that the proposal offers suitable building sites and can be developed without adverse impacts on the environment and neighboring properties. Landowners within 1 mile of the subject site and other interested parties were notified of the application when the county received it originally and then in advance of today's public hearing. Comments provided have been included in Council's agenda package starting on page 16. And with that, administration is making the recommendation that Council grant all 3 readings of Bylaw 2024-10. And that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions from Council to administration? Anybody on the line, any councillors on the line and or Reeve?
Yeah, I have a question.
Go ahead, Councillor Kester.
We're gonna have, what, 8 subdivisions there, 8 homes? Is that a gravel road presently?
Through the chair, that's correct. This is a county standard gravel road.
Yeah, so there's another road that's very close to there that the acreages are more spread out. But county ended up putting dust control down for a mile, was it, or 2 miles? And I'm thinking the same thing's going to happen here with the residents so close together. Is there anything we can, I know we looked at for a different project, an area taxation or improvement tax. Is there something we can do for when we get such dense clusters of acreages that we can, county just goes ahead and oils the road with whatever we deem necessary, favor, whatever the county's discretion, that these affected parcels would be paying an extra improvement tax? Or is there a different way we can? I know there were some subdivisions in the past where I think part of the condition was that the road had dust control on it, but that was just when the county took the road over, and now county's responsibility. I don't know if that's the answer either, but I'm thinking there should be discussion on dust control. So past experience will become an announcement.
Through the chair to Councillor Kester, the TIA did look at this aspect of the upgrade, and it was determined that no further treatment would be needed, but it can be something that's visited at the subdivision stage if we progress to that phase of development.
And also to note, we did just revamp the dust control program. That adds a lot more, well, it sets the controls a little differently, so we could bring that forward as well. Not right now, but I do know it's within the last year we went through it. So. Any other questions?
Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking of, I guess, is the bylaw stage, and we kind of had conditions on bylaw. Just had a memory lapse there. I'll bring it up again at subdivision. Thank you.
Okay. We'll move forward. Is there a presentation by the applicant? Please come forward. Can you lower the mic for him?
Thank you.
Not a problem.
State your name, please, for everyone, for the record.
It's in here.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Good morning, council members, county staff, and fellow community members. My name is Dennis Kimenai, and I live in the southwest quarter of Section 33, 2424 west of 4. I would like to start by thanking the council for allowing me to speak on behalf of my family. When we began this journey, we were unaware of the many requirements for the proposal of to subdivide. We are very grateful to the support of the staff, to the support of county staff, particularly Taylor Phelps, who guided us through the process. Our proposals follow all current county bylaws to subdivide for estate planning. We propose to subdivide 4 parcels at the same time because it is cost effective. Some landowners have submitted letters to the county about their concerns with our proposal. It is our understanding that some of the landowners who have expressed grievances have also subdivided lands to benefit their own livelihood or needs. Other landowners who express concerns are enjoying a rural lifestyle as a result of previous subdivisions. The bylaws clearly state the allowable density in this zone. General concerns regarding the bylaws to create subdivisions, including densities, could have been addressed when the land use bylaws were revised. The landowners have also expressed concerns about aquifer capacity. We are prepared to offer access and easement to our irrigation pipeline if the potential buyers can acquire a yard and garden contract through the Western Irrigation District. We have submitted the required reports, which are accepted and approved by the county engineer and address water availability concerns. All the required studies and the reports have been offered to any interesting parties for their review. Mr. Ken Hugo, professional geologist and senior hydrologist, prepared the reports for the study regarding groundwater assessment. He is present and willing to take questions regarding groundwater assessment. Thank you for your consideration in this matter.
Thank you.
Am I under my time limit?
You're definitely under your time limit, sir.
Sorry. You know I had to make a joke somehow.
That's fine. Okay, now we'll move on. Is there any other presentation by the applicant at this time? I don't believe so. We'll move on to presentations by the public in support of the proposal. Administration, do I have to ask that question 3 times?
You should, you can, yeah.
Okay, for the second time, I'll ask, is there any presentations by the public in support of the proposal? Third and final time, same question. Hearing none, seeing none, we'll move on to presentation by the public in opposition to the proposal. Anyone present want to speak? Please come up to the mic, state your name. And I will just quickly remind you, you have up to 5 minutes to speak.
Hello, County Council. I'm Paul Damon. I live within 1 mile of the proposed subdivisions, and my family farms basically the land around the proposed subdivision. I would actually like to hear about the hydrology report. Is that something we can listen to before I speak, or Dennis mentioned that the fellow is here. The hydrologist is here. Is that something that we could hear?
Just how will we deal with that? Maybe in the rebuttal, actually, would probably be good. So I think
Okay.
we have a mechanism for that at the end.
Yeah, so the public hearing isn't an opportunity for people to ask questions, but it's more of just kind of a statement. If there's questions regarding the hydrology report, then the applicant can do the rebuttal part, answer questions to it.
So if the applicant brings the engineering up at the rebuttal to answer some of the questions, it'd be the most fair.
That's correct, yes.
Do you understand that?
Pardon me?
You understand how that would work?
Yeah, okay. I'm just, it's kind of a major part of
For sure.
one of my things. So, I mean, that's kind of why I'm here.
But the gentleman's here, he'll take the information down and be able to answer it at the end, if that helps.
I can't hear. What was that again?
Sorry. The gentleman is here with the applicant, that he will be taking notes and be able to answer it at the end
Okay.
for your questions that he can, if that helps. Yeah.
Also, I think some of us are a little unfamiliar with the bylaw as how it reads. So, like, how many subdivisions per quarter are allowed? We think it's 6 is what we've heard, but we don't know for sure. Is that correct? Is it 6 subdivisions per quarter now?
Just hang on 1 sec. I'm just trying to figure out who wants to answer this.
Through the chair to council, we'll make notes of comments that need to be addressed through the rebuttal after the applicant speaks, and then the planner can follow up with any comments that need to be addressed through rebuttal. But this is the time, opportunity to talk about his objections to the application.
Okay. So we'll note that. It's just so you have your time to ask your questions. I don't want to, it's not a debate back and forth right at the time. So basically you state your concerns, and then there's a chance at the end for them to respond. And then we take that, we gather that information to make a decision. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's fine. I just, I guess I was a little unprepared for this, but we just, busy with my regular job, so.
Understood.
So I guess our main concern, or a few of our main concerns are, the water quality and quantity. And obviously you've had a hydrologist do the tests or whatever, so that's something that'll come out. But so if you have these proposed 4. I think as the bylaw reads, you can have a possible 2 residences per 3-acre parcel. So if that was the case, which who knows, like you don't know when you sell it, it's kind of up to whoever buys it. If they're going to have a main residence and like I like to call it a mother-in-law suite or whatever. So that would bring on that particular road, if each acreage was to have 2 residences, would bring the residents up to 22 within a mile. And then plus our cattle operation, which is to the north. We're not 100% sure how the aquifer runs. We don't know if it runs north to south, east to west. We don't know if the feedlot is on the same one as, I think these people are mostly all on the same one because they're all along that road. It could be different. We don't know. Maybe the hydrologist will tell us. It would have been nice to gotten that information. As you know, that we had written letters into the county. We weren't provided with any of this information. Nobody sent us a letter and said this information was available. Nobody called and said it was available. So we could have been a little bit better prepared if we'd have known this stuff was available. Obviously, we wrote letters in. They were able to put together a hydrologist report in rebuttal to my letter in particular. So I guess we come here a little bit unprepared anyways. That was my main concern. Obviously, there has been studies done, and there has been septic studies done that it can support a possible 8 more residences. Have there been any studies in the county done to show the effects of loss of farmland and fragmentation of farmland? Is that something that's the county does? I know the province does. And some studies show that in the last, from 2011 to 2022, that there was 90,000 acres of farmland lost in Alberta. And that's due to urbanization and country residential combined. Some other studies that I read were higher. None were lower. So 90,000 as a minimum. Some are showing as high as 39,000 hectares, so just over 90,000 acres. And that's from 2011 to 2022. It doesn't, obviously count for last year or whatever. Has the county been keeping up with how much land is lost due to urbanization and country residential and the fragmentation of the land due to these country residentials and oil and gas development? I've never seen anything. I couldn't find anything on the website, although it was a pretty substantial website, so it's pretty hard to see everything in there. I would propose that there be a moratorium placed on some of these subdivisions until we can go over the bylaw that was changed from 1 primary residence to, so 1 primary residence plus an additional acreage is the way it used to be. A lot of the people in the room here, including myself, a lot of people that I've talked to over this past few months weren't aware that the bylaw was changed. And we believe it's 6 per quarter, and we believe that you can have 2 residences per acreage, per 3-acre acreage. It has to be, I think, a minimum of 3 acres. So until these concerns can be addressed, I think that there needs to be a moratorium placed on this so that we can't have, the density that we're seeing in this particular application. I think possibly if we can't review this, that it goes to a plebiscite next election, and we let the people decide what they want. If they want to have high density of, houses, urbanization, fracturing of farmland, loss of farmland, additional traffic, additional strain on aquifers, because let's face it, there's only a certain amount of water in these aquifers, right? What are the people who already live there going to do when this aquifer goes dry? If it goes dry, maybe it never does.
Just a point from administration, the 5-minute time limit has elapsed for individuals at the podium
Okay.
speaking in.
And he kind of started rough. Can we give him just another minute?
Yeah, I did give, so right now it was at 6 minutes and
Okay.
42 seconds, so the, just to let you know, thank
You
you.
got, do you have much more?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't have much more.
Okay.
So one rebuttal that in talking with you was the tax revenue that these acreages bring in, and I understand that, and that, you know, county taxes could possibly go up, you know, if we didn't have these country residential. But I think we need to look at the impact of what these are to the environment, to the water, to the other residents before we go ahead and start. You know, this one goes through whatever, but what's to stop somebody from coming out of Calgary or wherever, an investor coming in, not a farmer, buying up quarters of land and putting their 12 on, you know, 6 per quarter plus 2 per each? What's to stop that from happening? Thanks for the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Administration is taking notes. Any other further presentations in opposition to the proposal? Please come to the mic, state your name, even though most of us know you.
Good morning. My name is Danielle Harwood, and I live on Range Road 244. I kind of would like to mirror Paul Damon's comments. We wrote a letter back in April. I did have some questions in that letter. Taylor did respond to me via email, which was great. However, there was a few questions that were not answered. So again, I know from my understanding today, you guys, it's not really about answering questions. However, like I said, kind of mirroring Paul's concerns, I think these concerns do need to be answered before we can go ahead. One of the questions being, do you guys have annual statistics on how much agricultural land is being lost in Wheelan County? Can anybody answer right now? Like, do you guys track how much ag fragmentation directly happens in Wheelan County? Can anybody answer that?
Much like before, right at the moment, we're just, please state your questions. They're taking it down.
Right.
Because there'll be lots of questions from different presenters.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Like I
it just
said,
gives
I
it-
did have that question in my letter in April though, and so we're just wondering so if we can't hear it today, when will that be answered?
I hear you.
It's, in order for you guys to make or approve this application, how do you know that without those facts, right? So again, just trying to somehow understand. Again, one of the concerns on that road, that 2-mile stretch on 244, so that's in between Township Road 250 and 244 on the top side, on the south side, sorry, there already is 14 houses already. So with the application, that would make it 18. And again, with changing from ag to country residential, there's again more possibility for another 2 or another 1 on each one. So that'd be 8. So that would actually be 22 houses in a 2-mile stretch of our country road. That's more than even like Nightingale and like communities. So again, the impacts of this application with an already very busy road is very concerning. And again, in the letter, I did ask how many other 2-mile roads in our county have that many houses on it that isn't a community. Like I said, that's even more than Nightingale already, and some other communities, and that's just an actual community where we're just a country road. So again, these are just some of the concerns like I had to mirror Paul, and I think these answers, we would greatly appreciate some of these answers, seeing how I just feel like that kind of stands out a little bit different to some of the concerns we have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any other presentations in opposition to the proposal? Go ahead. Please come forward.
Hello, thank you, council. My name is Joe Van Babel on 244. Just a couple things. A lot of it mirrors what's already been said with aquifers. I do have a concern with the traffic, as it was stated that there would be no effects. There's already a lot of traffic on that road, and moving machinery up and down that road, there is a bit of a hill going to the south. And the amount of people that come over that hill that are not on the side of the road, and we're already moving machinery and stuff up and down that road, it's dangerous. Councillor Kester, what he brought up about dust control, I don't want my taxes raised for dust control when I live a quarter of a mile off the road, right? And I'm pretty sure no one else wants to pay extra taxes for other people moving in there. So I think that's a concern that needs to be brought up. And my biggest one is the right to farm. I know it's in there, but as populations grow and density comes, it's more of a concern. I am renting land right there and do have a natural gas pump. And I don't want people phoning me and telling me I can't irrigate at night because it's keeping them awake. I do know in past cornfields had people call them and ask them to turn the pump off at night. Now that wasn't lately, and all their neighbors right now have been good, but I don't know what's coming in. And I don't want my right to farm to be affected because, oh, now there's dust, or, you know, there's vehicles late at night, or, oh, you know what, watch out for my dog that's running in the field as your equipment's going by, right? So the right to farm is a really big concern of mine. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other presentations in opposition to the proposal? I'll ask a third time. Is there any presentations in opposition to the proposal? Thank you for your information. As stated, we've taken some information down. I believe staff will be able to answer some questions at the end. And then maybe how can we explain current processes to alleviate or maybe alleviate some of these concerns and or answer some of the concerns?
Just from a process point wise, the applicant gets an opportunity to rebut any of that stuff, and then we kind of wrap it up. So any questions that are unanswered,
Fair enough.
We'll do that.
So move on to the next stage of this rebuttal presentation by the applicant, limited only to the comments read or heard in opposition to the proposal. For sure. Please state your name, and I guess you're addressing a specific topic too. So.
Yes, good morning, councillors, Councillor Klassen. I'm Ken Hugo, I'm the hydrogeologist, and I'm just going to briefly summarize the results of our study we did. It was a desktop study, a phase 1 study at this point. So we looked at several of things. The area is underlain by a fairly productive formation called the Scholard Aquifer, and there's many sandstone bodies, 3 actually, that we've noticed in the area that people produce water from. So not everybody draws from the same aquifer. You're allowed to draw, according to the Water Act, there's a requirement that each residential subdivision can supply 1,250 cubic meters a year, which is 750 gallons a day, which is generally about 3 or 4 times what people need. So there's a safety factor in there, our calculations. The aquifers that they do produce are quite productive. So we don't, because of that, there's not excessive drawdown on any aquifer that we've noticed. This area we had a kind of fortuitous in that they did the baseline test for the oil and gas wells, in which they would measure the water levels at the time of the baseline test. And we also have the water levels measured when they first drilled the wells. So we can compare with time if there's any decline in the water, if the aquifer is drying up basically with these 2 data points. And there's no indication at all. There's some noise, of course, to the data, but the trends are all over good. So we have very good aquifers in the area that should be able to supply the proposed subdivision. There's not a lack of aquifers. and there's no indications that they're drying up. It was mentioned the water quality. The water quality is overall quite good. We do have a problem throughout the Scholar Formation in the area that fluoride can be high, which, fluoride, a little bit of fluoride is good, but there could be a cause for treatment. It's somewhat variable, so we always recommend if a well is installed that a water quality sample be taken, and if fluoride's high, then testing be done for, or treatment be done for fluoride. But that's, like I say, it's the desktop study at this point. So, but all indications are that the water supply is quite sustainable.
Thank you. Do we can't ask questions, correct? Does the board have any questions?
Yeah, so one of the gentlemen was worried about the feedlot. Is that on the same aquifer?
It's on the same Scholar Formation. I'd have to I'd have to check and see if he's in the same aquifer zone. He is a distance away from the. So there's three factors we look at to see whether this development will have an effect. One is the quality of the aquifers, which is quite high, is favorable. The second one is the pumping rates required for a subdivision, which, it's a residential, so it's not as much as a feedlot or a car wash or whatever. And the third is the distance, and the distance is he's a little less, he's around a mile or a little less than a mile, kilometer or so, which is also favorable. He's not next door, so I don't think these lots will have any effect on at that distance.
Other question.
Go ahead.
Did you do your study with the subdivision as one household per acre, or was it for 2 household per acre?
It's we did the study assuming the 4
full
house.
build out?
Yeah, the full build out. So we
For
do
the
some
4, but what
calculations.
about having a mother-in-law suite? The gentleman said.
No, well, we did it based on the 1250 cubic meters per year. So a household, that's 750 gallons a day. A household uses, it depends on the people in the house, is that 100 to 200 gallons a day. So if there's 2, there's more than enough room in our study for up to 3 households really per lot. So there is that safety factor in there.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
We'll move on to final questions of administration, and I'm sure there's some notes taken from the public, and there might probably be some questions from the board as well.
So I'll start here addressing how many parcels can be subdivided from a quarter section. This is detailed in the municipal development plan. Generally, with the proper studies, as we requested with this application, it is possible to subdivide 5 parcels from a quarter section. When you propose more than 5, the planning requirements become much more intensive. It requires piped water and wastewater servicing and more intensive planning approvals like an area structure plan or an area concept plan. The municipal development plan tries to strike a balance to protect the right to farm, which is included in some of the agricultural policy statements, but does strike that balance by considering subdivision applications up to 20 acres on an unsubdivided quarter section. Again, provided that you have studies that can support that future development. Addressing another question here, no, the county does not track lands that are redesignated from agricultural districts to other districts. Redesignation of lands doesn't necessarily mean that the lands will actually be developed, as we can see on those country residential parcels to the west there. Not all have been developed. And then again, that 20-acre maximum, 20-acre non-agricultural maximum that we have in the municipal development plan was designed to essentially prevent fragmentation while still offering possibility to develop your lands further. addressing some of the questions around traffic that were raised, the TIA that was provided sees a range of 5 to 11 trips generated by the future build out during peak hours and 52 total daily trips. There were no concerns from the engineer who wrote the report or the county's engineers regarding the geometry of the road, so any vertical or horizontal curvature. There were no sightline concerns identified in the report or raised by the county's engineers. Again, that is something that we can revisit at the subdivision stage. If council grants the approval of the redesignation today, each of the proposed country residential lots does allow for one primary dwelling and then that accessory suite. I'm just confirming that detail in the land use bylaw. You could have one primary dwelling and one accessory suite on each of those 3-acre parcels. And I think I've captured most of the questions that were asked there, but I'd only be able to answer them specifically as they relate to the application and not beyond the site here.
So I just want to confirm, Taylor, that if you look on the west side of that map right there, they're like a mirror image. There's 4 identical parcels on the other side. I'm not a proponent of fragmenting agriculture land, but it looks like we're kind of already doing it there.
That's correct. These are almost identical in size. That southern parcel that's not developed on the west side is slightly larger, but marginally so.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions to administration from the board?
Just a clarification, the accessory buildings, that all has to come back to council, and council can say yea or nay on an accessory building. Is that not correct?
Through the chair, accessory suites, like a garden suite?
Sorry, accessory suites, sorry.
Yes, those are discretionary uses in the country residential district. So the Municipal Planning Commission would have final authority to approve or refuse those applications.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor LaPriest.
Do you know when our bylaw did change to allow from 1 residence per quarter to having a maximum of 5? When was that?
Through the chair, when the land use bylaw, actually, sorry, it would have been the municipal development plan. Previous to the version we have. I'm not sure, do you know the exact date?
Through the chair to council, I believe the original MDP with the 5 and the 6 lots to trigger an area concept plan or an area structure plan was in 2013. And when it was amended in 2022, those policies remained, and the policies, there was an objection when we went out to the public that they would still require an area structure plan or an area concept plan with further studies to show that it could be serviced and developed with piped infrastructure and servicing.
And through the chair, to add to that, the previous policy was more than 3 parcels. The creation of a 4th required that more intensive pipe servicing and approval of an area structure plan.
And that's per quarter, correct?
Correct, per unsubdivided quarter.
Any questions on the people that are calling in, Councillor and/or Reeve? Not hearing any. My questions, I believe, were answered. I'm just going through my notes here. And dust control, we have a policy on that. Water's been answered. Oh, information sharing. What is the process? Because it was brought up by the public. In the applications, does the information, the hydrology, does that get shared with people?
Through the chair to council. So any technical reports that are provided with an application are available to folks. If they want to make an appointment, they can stop in and we can sit down and review the findings of those reports. Generally, we like to do this once we've heard back from the county's engineer as well. There were some folks who have presented today who requested to meet with me. I made myself available to review those reports, but no times were ever set. no follow-up there. But we do invite folks to come in and review those reports.
And
Absolutely.
that is public information once it's been submitted to the county.
That's correct.
Through the chair to council, I'd like to add to that in the circulation letter that goes out on a new application, it states within that letter that you can come in and make an appointment or contact the planner to see the files and any studies. We do not automatically send those out within a circulation notice.
Is that a normal practice in any municipality?
That is a normal practice, is to send out, and that the residents or adjacent landowners were to contact to come in and see an application. They can go through with the planner, the entire application submission, but we would not send copies out.
Thank you. Any further questions from administration? Go ahead.
Just one that I forgot to ask the first time, Taylor, where these proposed ones are, it doesn't look like on the map that that's currently cultivated land. Is that correct?
Through the chair, I believe it is currently cultivated.
So it is currently cultivated land. Okay.
Yes.
And is that a water body that's going through there, that line that's light blue?
I'm just,
It's on page 10.
page 10. Through the chair, so there is a spring further east than what this diagram is showing. There is an ephemeral body of water between, I'd say, lots 2 and 3 here. It was noted in the stormwater review, the wastewater treatment review, that wetland would need to be avoided during the installation process. Otherwise, the nearest water or stream, I believe, is 350 meters further east from the edge of the developed lot.
I'm more thinking if we get a big rain or a big snow and we get runoff through that, because it looks like it might be a temporary, like not permanent. I can see issues with people complaining that water's running through their new subdivision.
And through the chair, the stormwater review that was provided, I'm just going to flip to the next page here, did show that there are design interventions that will need to be implemented at the development permit stage to prevent that very thing from happening. It also included these compost logs or these silt fences that you see on the diagram here during the development and post-construction phase to prevent that type of runoff and erosion. Yeah. The county will also need to look at the ditch on the west side of these proposed lots, and how, again, interventions on each individual lot can prevent any runoff from the road onto these parcels, but it has been accounted for.
Any further questions? Thank you.
I don't have a question. This may be a comment, like everybody to think about. We started with these 4 lots or 5 lots or per quarter, and then the day we dreamed about, well, what about when it happens in an intersection, they end up with 16, and you double them, and you got a whole new community there that's on All County Road. And then the right to farm comes up. I've got, during my report today, just not just a couple miles from here, we have a traffic concern of people speeding down the road, getting home after work. We got cattle and sheep farmers there, and machinery, and people are speeding. They're, for the most part, traffic concerns in my area are pretty, I would say, they're polite. See somebody coming down with a combine, most people pull off the side of the road, or they'll get into the ditch and they'll pass you. But not so much maybe people that are moving out from the city. And especially when you're driving cattle down the road, I've had people just screaming through your herd. How they don't kill them, I don't know. And I think these these are concerns that are starting to creep up. And when the counties first started hitting these densities on the west side, yes, there's some cattle over there, but as you move over more this way, we have, I think, more cattle, more grasslands for sure. The farmland isn't all cultivated. We have more grasslands. I think we have to take this right to farm maybe a little bit more seriously and spread these acreages out more, or put them all on a highway someplace or in a hamlet so they can get onto a highway. I don't know. I'm thinking these are getting pretty dense there. And there's a feedlot not that far away from there. I just drive down the road and everything's fenced along the road. I think that's time for some concern here and pause for thought at the very minimum.
Anything further for anyone? We're looking for a motion to close the public hearing.
Also move.
It's motion on the floor. Any discussion? If not, I'll call the question. Is Reeve Link on the line? Reeve Link? Councillor Kester, motion on the floor to close the public hearing.
In favor.
Councillor Priest,
In favor.
Councillor Bigger,
In favor?
Councillor Eichert,
In favor?
myself's in favor, Councillor Laurison.
In favor.
Public hearing is now closed. We're back into council and we have, so here's where we are going to look at doing first, second, and third. Before we start, I'm the councillor of the area and I just want to say it's the impact of what we've discussed here is not taken lightly. We have rules that we've set up and they've been in place since 2013 and then upgraded in 2022. This is the first time I've seen an application like this here, but it is allowed. And it's going to go where people are closest to an urban center. You can draw a ring around any urban center in Alberta and you'll see the same thing. It's an impact, it's there. Land values are driven up. This is where people want to live. We also live in a country where we have over 1 million people coming in every year. They're going to the cities. The people of cities are coming out further, closer to get away. That's just migration of people. This is going to happen more and more. And from the councillor of the area I'll speak to, I hear what other councillors are saying about, looking at changing this, but we have rules that allow this now. To change it right now midstream isn't fair to anybody. Is it something we should look at? For sure. It is definitely, it impacts everything, but I look at it as the landowner that wanted to do this, the developer, and jumped through all the hoops and answered all the questions that we had set forward. That's been in place for a period of time. Nobody likes change. I've seen it many times. But I believe most of the questions have been answered as fair as possible. Is agricultural affected? Yes, it is. That's going to happen anytime you develop land. But everybody has a right to develop their land and how they see fit. And I try to put that hat on as much as I can. It's not an easy job. So I just wanted to say that from the area.
I agree with what Deputy Reeve Clausen has said. I live in an area that probably, if you take a 2-mile radius of where I live, I would have probably 40 residences, probably another 40 subdivisions that are subdivided, the land subdivided, but they're not allowed to. They haven't made any applications to build on these subdivisions yet. And the fear there is, it's naturally fear. There's fear is a natural reaction to that. When the neighbor put an ASB on the next quarter to my place and put 16 houses on that, or subdivided it into 16 places, I was leery about the first thing I did not want to lose my water. But it's worked out. They've been there for over 10 years now. It's the fact that some of this, the land, the agriculture changes. You don't have big tractors and that kind of stuff doing this, but what these people do on their acreages, the amount of like sheep and goats and cattle that you see there, the productivity is probably gone up. It's just that it's a micro organization. So I understand the fear, but I also understand the only place this is going to happen is with land that is in close proximity to a major organization. Like, people are not going to go out on the east side of Strathmore and do this kind of thing, because you'll never ever sell the property. People don't want it. They want the advantage of being close to the city, but they don't want to be in the city. So I understand the fear, but I also understand that our rules are good. And if, you know, we do not have to, at MPC, we do not have to allow an accessory suite and all that kind of stuff, if at that point that the people are, the neighbors are all concerned about it. But I'm, having lived in the area, having lived and exposed myself to the situation, it is not as bad as what it seems to be at the very beginning.
I have a comment, listening to the right to farm, and that people buy subdivisions, they put a house up. I did bring this forward when I first came on council, that I do believe that the people that are building the houses on these acreages need to be informed on what is the right to farm. And so I would ask that maybe we could bring this to a committee of the whole and have a information pamphlet, booklet, whatever it is, given to them, that what it is about the farming agriculture, what the agriculture is all about, and what to expect. It's just something that might help. And I think we do, another comment is, I think we do track farming fragmentation through our assessments. So through our assessments from year to year for taxation, what assessment is classified as farm and what isn't. So I do believe that we do. It's not in an actual separate issue, but it is through our taxation. That's it. Thank you.
I guess I'll mirror some of the things that have been said, just that our municipal development plan was developed with exactly these questions in mind. How do we preserve our agricultural land, but then also allow landowners to develop, to do with their land as they see fit, to preserve landowner rights. And so the result is a compromise. And so it doesn't, there's always going to be people who won't be satisfied with it. I think overall, as been said, most of the concerns have been shown that they can be mitigated, or like the water is shown to be sufficient. If we want to review further the fragmentation issue, I think we need to go back to the municipal development plan and perhaps do some public consultation about whether they should be fewer acreages per quarter section. But like Deputy Reeve Clausen said, that's not today. We would have to look at that in the future to develop some new rules. So this applicant has followed the rules. Our rules are there to try and find a compromise. It's not ideal. It's not ideal for anybody, but those are the rules that we do have in place. So yeah, it's.
Anyone else? I'll move that council moves first reading of bylaw 24-10, this being a bylaw for the purpose of amending land use bylaw 2016-01 to redesignate plus or minus 4.84 hectares, 12 acres within Southwest 332424 west of the 4th from Ag District to County Residential District as shown as Schedule A forming part of this bylaw. I've put a motion on the floor. Any discussion? I'll call the question via roll call. Reeve Link, are you on the line? Can you answer? Nope. I'll move on to Councilor
Sorry.
Priest.
Good morning, Deputy Bruce
Oh,
Lawson.
there you are.
Are you able to hear me?
I can hear you now, loud and
My
clear.
apologies. My apologies. I'm going to abstain from voting just because I did miss part of the public hearing. I lost connectivity. So I will abstain for these decisions. Thank you.
Thank you for your honesty. It's important that if you're not here for the full process, that is what you're supposed to do. So it's a fair and equal process. Thank you for your honesty on that. Councillor Kester.
Opposed.
Councillor Priest.
I'm in favor.
Councillor Bigger.
In favor.
Councillor Eichert.
In favor.
Myself is in favor. Councillor Larson.
Opposed.
That is carried.
I'll move the council move second reading of bylaw 2024-10.
Motion on the floor. Any further discussion before I call the question? I will not be counting on Reeve Link's vote as she already stated, so I'll move forward to Councillor Kester.
Opposed.
Councillor Priest.
Just before I vote, I just want to also say that there are a lot of different things that we can do to mitigate some of the other issues that were raised, like when it comes down to the development phase, that signage can be part of it. We do have bylaws protecting farmers' right to farm in terms of nuisance and noise. We could look more at those kinds of things. There are more things that we can do. So I just wanted to say that, but I am in favor.
In favor? Councillor Bigger?
In favor.
Councillor Eichert?
In favor.
Councillor Larson?
Opposed.
I'm in favor. That is carried. I'll move that council grants permission to hold third and final reading of bylaw 24-10. I'll call the question. Councillor Kester.
And before I vote, I'd like to make a statement that I agree with what Councillor Priest said. There are mitigations, and later on in my report, you're going to hear what I have to propose for that solution at that spot. And depends how council accepts that or not, or how we're going to deal with concerns into the future and the right to farm. So by me saying no, that doesn't mean that things lost. It just means it's not passed today. So I'm going to say no. Opposed.
Councillor Priest.
In favor.
Councillor Bigger.
In favor.
Councillor Eichert.
In favor.
Councillor Larson.
I can go in favor of third reading.
Okay. I'm in favor, but we have to have unanimous. So that is carried on. When would the comes to the next meeting?
Yes, that's correct. So August 13th.
So just so everybody in the gallery is aware, to move forward to third and final reading, you have to have unanimous support. So there isn't a unanimous, so it will go to the next council meeting for the final reading. So that's that portion of this done. We will move on to, do we need to take a break for everybody to get out of the room? Yeah, probably it's 10 o'clock. We'll take a 10-minute break. We'll be back at 10:13. Call the meeting back to order. We're moving on to bylaw 2024-18, and this is another public hearing. Do I have to read the spiel again? Because we took a break?
Not the process. You will need a.
So we'll follow the same process as before. So I have to ask, can administration please verify that public hearing was circulated in accordance to the MGA?
Yes, it was.
Is there any written submissions not included in the public package?
No.
Thank you. There was nobody here to speak, nobody on the line, I'm sure, to speak. If there is, please let me know. Go ahead with your presentation.
I'll move to open the public hearing, bylaw 2024-18.
Thank you. Counselor Kester, I appreciate everyone. Counselor Reichert. Oh, that was bad. Anyways, I'll call the question. Reeve Link, are you online?
I'm in favor.
Counselor Kester, are you online?
Yes, in favor.
Counselor Priest?
In favor.
Counselor Bigger?
In favor.
Counselor Reichert?
In favor.
Counselor Larson?
In favor.
And I'm in favor. Please go ahead, and I apologize for my screw up.
Good morning, Council. Jessica Russell with Planning and Development Services, presenting bylaw 2024-18 to establish electoral boundaries in Wheatland County. Administration initiated review of the electoral boundaries at the February 13th, 2024 Committee of the Whole meeting. At the March 28th Committee of the Whole meeting, the committee directed administration to proceed with the process of amending the electoral boundaries bylaw. At the May 7th regular meeting, Council accepted the terms of reference for the project, which outlines a process for the electoral boundaries review, including public consultation, advertising, and implementation. Following acceptance of the terms of reference, the electoral boundaries bylaw and associated maps were drafted and uploaded to the county website. Notice of the proposed bylaw was circulated to county residents by regular mail. 3 open houses were held to provide opportunities for public consultation through in-person information sessions with residents. The open houses were held from June 10th to 12th in 3 locations in communities throughout the county. No submissions were received at or following the open houses. Notice of the public hearing of bylaw 2024-18 was sent in accordance with the MGA. Administration did not receive any submissions. Administration recommends approval as per the motions provided. This concludes the presentation of bylaw 2024-18. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any questions from council to administration? We're the applicant. So this is a public hearing, so I have to follow the same process, right?
That's correct. Since we are the applicant, through the chair, since we are the applicant, there's no presentation from us, but
I can ask for
someone on the line or.
Yeah. Is there anybody online or present that would like to speak in support of this proposal? Ask the question for a second time. Same question, third time. Okay, move on. Is there anybody in public or online in opposition of the proposal? I'll ask the question again. Anybody who would like to speak in opposition of this proposal? Third time. Hearing none, move on. Rebuttal presentation, there's no need. Final questions of administration.
I have a question. I'm not
One
sure.
or two comments.
Okay, Councillor Laprise first and then Councillor Kester.
When I just looked at the blown up versions, Division 2 has this, or I guess Division 4 has this tiny little section of land on the east side of the town of Strathmore. And I wondered if at this point, would we be able to adjust that so that it's, if you look on page 37. You see, so if it just, in terms of being able to say my area, well, it would be Reeve Link's area, but would go along the, this way and then this way and then the east side of Strathmore. Like to me, it seems like it would make more sense to have her area touch that whole east side of Strathmore.
You're talking contiguous boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah, so through the chair, yes, we can definitely make amendments still.
So what would be the process to do that at this point?
I believe there's maybe 3 residents there. One family. Maybe four. Two different families, 4 residents, yeah.
Really not that difficult. I assume,
Put your mic on.
I would assume that within the next little while that the town of Strathmore will probably
Grow.
move out.
But there is-
That's that part of the property. But it doesn't make any difference per se to me, but I'm fine with keeping that. There's only one.
It would be better for the people living there to have the same counselor that's right there.
Is
It
across
makes
the
sense, yeah.
road. And just thinking future-wise, if they didn't, annex that land, and if different councillors were in the area, it just would make more sense, I'm thinking.
Through the chair to council, after you get first reading, we'll make note of that and make that amendment for second reading, and it'll be as amended. So you'll be able to see the revised maps, to be able to vote on the amendment, and then we can proceed from there.
Okay.
So after discussion, we'll have to say as amended.
So then it would be as amended, and then if we chose not, we would vote for the amendment, and if it didn't pass, then we would go back to this. Okay, very good.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Councillor Kester?
Yes, on page 44, Division 6, got the land containing north of the Canadian Pacific Railway line between Rosebud and Drumheller. It used to be a CN line, Canadian National, but there's no line there anymore, and I'm not sure if that's the boundary line, or is it the river line, or is there, because the river's constantly changing there, I'm not 100% sure. But if you're going to keep the railway line, if that is the boundary, it should maybe be changed to Canadian Pacific or Canadian National CN line. And I was just wondering, the whole reason why we're redoing the boundaries is to more or less even out the population. I think maybe it would be nice in each division if we had what this population, your estimate of what it is in each division. So in the future, people can see how many were there and see there now that we're voting too.
Any further questions? We could even have it on the map, like the date and the population, to try to balance it out for public and for us too. Okay. So we need a motion to close the public hearing, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Also move.
Motion on the floor. Any discussion? Call the question. Reeve Link.
In favor.
Councillor Kester.
In favor.
Councillor Priest.
In favor.
Councillor Bigger.
In favor?
Councillor Eichert.
In favor.
Councillor Larson.
In favor.
And I'm in favor. That's carried. So we've had a lot of discussion about this. There's some amendments. Should we have as amended, or from the discussion, do we need it laid out?
So first reading, you just do as presented, and then you can direct administration to make those 2 amendments, and then we'll bring back second reading with those amendments in 60 days.
So we do the motion as stated. Go ahead. Yes, we did.
Okay.
Yep.
Just,
So we have to read the motion as presented and then say, please bring back the changes for second reading.
Okay, so I'll make that motion that council moves first reading of bylaw 2024-18. This being a bylaw for the purpose of establishing electoral boundaries as shown on the attached Schedule A, forming part of this bylaw. And further, that administration brings back amendments as discussed in this public hearing, in this meeting. Council meeting.
Okay, motion on the floor. Everybody clear? Any questions? I'll call the question. Reeve Link.
In favor.
I think I heard you in favor. You're kind of breaking up.
In favor.
Got you. Counselor Kester.
In favor.
Counselor Laprise.
In favor.
Counselor Bigger.
In favor?
Counselor Reichert.
In favor.
Counselor Larson.
In favor.
And I'm in favor. That's carried. Thank you. That will come back, how long? After summer?
Yes, that's correct. So there's a Municipal Government Act requirement that requires a petition window for up to 60 days. So we'll just have to wait for that 60 days to elapse.
So September.
Yeah, September.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you. We have procedural bylaw 2024-03, 2424-23 procedure bylaw.
Yes, good morning, Council. Brian from Administration. On page 53 of your agenda package is the bylaw 2024-23, the procedure bylaw. This was done just to amend section 49 of the procedure bylaw, and that's just to update the committee of the whole section. That's the only thing that was updated in the procedure bylaw, and that amendment on page 49 is relatively straightforward, and it does align with the other bylaw in for the public presentation committee, so similar wording. It's on page 59 if council's just wants to kind of cut to that minor amendment in that paragraph. If there's any questions about this amendment or the bylaw itself, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? We have four motions in front of us. Go ahead. Oh,
I'll move that council approve first reading of procedure bylaw 2024-23.
thank you. Motion's on the floor. Any discussion? Call the question. Reeve Link.
In favor, and I realize you've called the question, but I do have a comment just after first reading as well.
Okay, I'll come back to you. Is that all right?
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Kester.
In favor.
Councillor Laprise.
In favor.
Councillor Bigger.
In favor?
Councillor Reichert.
In favor.
Councillor Larson.
In favor.
And I'm in favor. That's carried. I'll go back to Reeve Link. Comment.
Are you able to hear me?
Hear you good. 5 by 5.
Wonderful. Perfect. Thank you. Just a question to CAO Henderson. I have a couple of other questions about the bylaw. Would it be best to raise those now or at a future date?
Through the chair. So we are discussing the bylaw. So right now is a great time to bring it forward.
Okay, perfect. On page 63, it indicates that the recording of our meetings will be posted on the county website. I'm just wondering if we should amend that, like that it will be linked from our website, or that it will just be posted online and accessible to the public or something, recognizing that we currently utilize YouTube, so it's not directly on our website.
Through the chair, we can definitely make that amendment. And this amendment itself today isn't timely by any means. So what we can do is, if there's further amendments, we can just take those down and then bring back second and third reading for as amended, and just make sure that one requirement that administration must follow is have the changes in bylaws available for council to read. So any other amendments, if you do have any, and if we can just bring those forward, just makes it cleaner, and we can bring that back at the August 13th meeting. Thank you.
You bet. Deputy Reeve Clausen, may I proceed? I just have 3 other quick small comments.
No problem. Go ahead.
Through Deputy Reeve Clausen, on page 167, from my read, sections 134 and 139 of the bylaw are redundant, like they both say the same thing. If administration can just review, and if there's a rationale for having both, that's great, but if not, maybe we want to contemplate removing one of those. On page 69, and this did come up at a previous council meeting, the clause references under amending motions that there can only be one amending motion. And from my sort of understanding of the bylaw, I didn't understand that to mean, or at least past process had not been, that there could only be one amending motion on a resolution. I had interpreted that to mean that there could only be one amending motion at a time. And then there is a clause below that that says all amendments are debatable, or amending motions are debatable. So just looking for, if it's council's will that we only have one amending motion, then we can leave it. If that was not our intention, then perhaps we want to contemplate a revision to that section. And then just a question, and Deputy Reeve Clausen experienced it this morning, on page 72 and 73, it indicates that the chair will call 3 times after every speaker for those speaking in favor and those speaking opposed. And just curious if that's a best practice, or if we need to do that, that's great. I just could see it getting really potentially redundant if we had multiple speakers, and people were slow to the microphone, or if we have multiple public hearings calling 3 times when there's nobody, online, or nobody in chambers. But also recognizing if it's best practice, then happy to keep it there. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. I see 157 is probably a debatable item, or does council or does staff need us to give clear direction on this, or do you want to give options? What's the best approach?
Through the chair, if council is okay with the changes that provided by Reeve Link, administration can amend the bylaw and bring it back at the August 13th meeting. If council doesn't want to do it, then yeah, whatever. It's really up to council, whatever council chooses to do with it.
So everybody heard the changes. Is there any concerns? Not hearing any.
So if council does want
hang on.
administration to put forward or make those amendments, just a motion to direct us to make the amendments as discussed and bring back to a future council meeting for final readings.
Go ahead, Councilor Reichert.
Question on that, the amending motion, only one amending motion. If I agree that we should look at maybe multiple amending motions, but if I change my mind, can that be, before it's read, before we do 3rd reading, can that be changed back again if I can come up with a good reason in my mind why there should only be one?
So through the chair, our intention would probably be to have 2nd and 3rd reading on the 13th, but yeah, I guess you'd have up to the next council meeting to kind of think about it, or if it doesn't work for council, you can always change the procedure bylaw as well. It just depends on what's in the bylaw at the given time.
Councilor Larson.
I would prefer if we would just keep this one as it is, and then if these other changes are wanted, we should discuss that at a committee of the whole meeting and then propose that goes to administration for development at a future date.
Do we have the timeline for that?
Timeline for, just through the chair, timeline.
Kick the changes back to the committee in whole for a good, fulsome discussion on some of it?
The next committee of the whole is on August 20th.
Yeah.
So council could also do, well, first reading is completed. You can just move it to committee of the whole as well, and then just have a fulsome discussion on the 20th on any amendments, because the timeline for 2nd and 3rd reading, we were just going to bring it back on the 13th because there is our summer break and administration can kind of complete these changes, but administration can bring these changes back in September as well.
So with 157, I think it would be like, what does other municipalities do? Things like that. I could see both sides of the coin. To have only one amending motion, I understand probably the process of it, so you don't have just keep something alive by trying to amend it. It could happen in some councils. And also, but I've seen it, different RMA is an example where they have an amending motion, then it kind of changes it, and then you kind of look at it as a different way. So I see both sides of it. But I don't think we want to debate that now, but I think it'd be good to have it, I don't have a problem getting back to committee of the whole. I just want to make sure timeline wise that we need to give this the most fair process so we all understand it and review it several times, because it has been utilized in meetings, and we want to make sure where everybody stands so we know. So we present the best meeting going forward, so.
Yes, and we can definitely do that. So if council does have questions, we can certainly move it to committee of the whole and go from there. And administration do the research, of course, on these amending sections, but council should pass a motion to put that as a topic for committee of the whole.
Okay, so we had first reading already?
First reading is completed,
So
yes.
if we wanted to go to committee of the whole, the next motion would be kick it to committee of the whole, as with discussions. Would you like to make that motion?
I just need a clarification. Can we not just approve this one the way it is and then refer the stuff that Reeve Link brought up to the committee of the whole? That to me would be the easier process.
Yes, that could be done as well. So in order to do that process, you just need to move second reading, have council vote on it, and then third and permission to hold third, and then that process, or council could move it to committee of the whole, whatever council chooses to do. Thank you.
The bylaw pretty well stands as it is now. There was minor changes, stuff that's being discussed changes. This bylaw is going to be the same regardless till we change it anyway, so I don't see the need to push everything forward right now. We could definitely bring the changes to committee of the whole because the bylaw is pretty much what the changes that we're talking about aren't proposed changes here right at the moment. Does that make sense? But go ahead.
I was just thinking that since we do have a committee of the whole meeting, we should pass this one with the new committee of the whole section, allowing us to vote on policies at that.
I see what
if
you're
that
saying,
was, so I don't know. I think maybe we should just continue with it as is and then take the new yeah, then ask for it to come to a committee of whole for further discussion.
That approach works. But yeah, whatever council would like to do.
Great discussion. Keep going.
I move that council approve second reading of bylaw 2024-23.
Motion on the floor. Any discussion? I'll call the question. Reeve Link.
In favor?
Councillor Kester.
In favor.
Councillor Priest.
In favor.
Councillor Bigger.
In favor?
Councillor Eichert.
In favor.
Councillor Larson.
In favor.
I'm in favor. That is carried.
I'll move that council grant permission to hold third and final reading of bylaw 2024-23.
Motion's on the floor. Any discussion? Call the question. Reeve Link.
In favor?
Councillor Kester.
Favor.
Councillor Laprise.
In favor?
Councillor Bigger.
In favor?
Councillor Eichert.
In favor.
Councillor Laurson.
In favor.
Myself is in favor. That's carried. Just one more possible motion.
I'll move that council approves third and final reading of bylaw 2024-23.
Motion is on the floor. Any discussion? Call the question. Reeve Link.
In favor?
Councillor Kester.
In favor.
Councillor Laprise.
In favor?
Councillor Bigger.
In favor?
Councillor Eichert.
In favor.
Councillor Larson.
In favor.
And I'm in favor. That's carried. So we have to have a motion to bring back the changes to committee of the whole. Who would like to make that motion?
I can do that. I'll make a motion to direct administration to bring forward the suggested revisions to a future committee of the whole meeting.
Thank you. Motion's on the floor. Everybody clear? Call the question. Reeve Link.
In favor?
Councillor Kester.
In favor.
Councillor Priest.
In favor?
Councillor Bigger.
In favor?
Councillor Eichert.
In favor.
Councillor Laurson.
In favor.
And I'm in favor. That is carried. 10:39. So we'll move to our new.
Deputy Reeve.
Yes.
Awesome. We have item number 8.3. There's a gentleman in the room that is here now. If you could possibly maybe move to that part of the agenda, I'd be grateful. If
Yeah, just to the chair, it's item number 7.73, request for utility account relief.
I have 8.13. 8.13, yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right, sorry. Yeah.
So a question from Councillor Bigger is, we have a gentleman that's in the room that would like to be here, I'm assuming because he's with the utility account. Would you like to make a motion to deal with this topic at current time?
also move.
So the motion's on the floor. Any discussion in favor of not changing the agenda, but just jostling the agenda around so we can accommodate this request? If not, I'll call the question. Reeve Link?
In favor?
Councillor Kester?
In favor.
Councillor Priest?
In favor.
Councillor Bigger?
In favor?
Councillor Reichert?
In favor.
Councillor Lars?
In favor.
And I'm in favor. So we'll just jostle the around a little bit. So we'll move on to 8.13, request for utility account relief. And I'm assuming,
Yes, good morning, Council. Brian from Administration. On page 216 of your agenda package is the request for a utility account relief. This is a request brought forward by Councillor Bigger, and I believe just in conjunction with the ratepayer. So information on this account can be found on page 216 and kind of the issue that arose. So during the billing period from April 1st to April 30th, the water account holder had water consumption of 292 cubic meters. So that ended up to a bill of just over $1,400. So what we've done is just kind of broken out the cost. So our 292 times the cube rate was just below 800, and then the wastewater cost, which is roughly 70% of the water cost. And wastewater is not billed, as council is aware, and then just some other minor fees that kind of went on there of our fixed rate, flat rate, or flat rates, and I think some debenture account or minor debenture payments in Carsland. So just to kind of note, I did kind of go through this account and have been working with administration on this one as well. So the typical range for this account was roughly between 8 to 12 months or 8 to 12 cubes during the winter months. Of course, as noted, it was significantly higher at 292 cubic meters. So administration, we did go through some extra effort just to confirm that this was the case. So we did have that meter sent off for testing, the one that had the high rate. And the results of that meter are on page 219 of your agenda package. So the meter itself is, the industry standard is 1.5% from the actual test. So the 3 tests kind of had below 1%. And the county policy also has within 2%. So we give a little bit extra lenient, but we didn't require that. And then kind of on page 218 is just the history of the account itself and the calls that we had. So administration, we did feel like we were very fair with the resident. We did also pay for the meter testing ourselves, and that doesn't happen too often. This issue doesn't come up super frequently as well. We also just had a correspondence with the ratepayer as well, and we did waive the interest or the penalties on that account for 1 month, just try to make sure that the meter was correct. So, and that's something that, again, that's something that we didn't have to do, but we did just to try to be fair and just try to get the resolve to this account. So administration's recommendation in this is to not provide financial relief to the utility account. If there are any questions about the report, please let me know. Thank you.
thank you for the presentation. Questions from council?
Yeah, I want to add some comments. I want to thank staff for taking hold of this and helping with it and doing what they could. But I do know that in the report it lists a leaky toilet. It was, under my understanding, it was just like off and on that leaky toilet. Like, I do not believe that was the cause at all. They do not have all the questions staff had asked, all the questions of, do they have an RO system or do they have a water softener? So that's all clear. That was all good. He did bring in a plumber. There was no leaks. So I do honestly, the bottom of my heart, believe that something went wrong. When the bill came, they kept, the staff read the meter, and before the new meter went in, it was still high. And then now they've kept track when the meter has come in, and it's low again. I do feel that somehow, I don't know about the testing, whether something changed once it was removed, which could possibly happen, or all companies, everybody's also worried about liability and everything. That I do believe that somehow this resident got charged and was billed incorrectly. I know that we normally don't approve these, but I feel that this was in February. Nothing could have been leaking outside. He did everything right. He got a plumber in. There was no leaks. Somehow something has been overcharged, and I feel that this was somehow done in error, and he deserves that rebate. Everything's been working well since the new meter. I just think that things do happen, and through other avenues that we can't control, but neither can he. And I do think this was somehow something went wrong. So I'm asking council to consider correcting this financially for him. He's a senior citizen that's lived in Carsland for a very long time, raised his children there. There was nothing malicious, but I do not believe that water went through that meter. Is there any questions? I can try to answer them.
Any council discussions? Councillor Priest?
Just have a question about the opportunity to go through the WFCSS Reaching Home. I'm actually not familiar with the program, but I'm just curious about whether that would be something. Why not go that route?
I did ask that. I think it's a matter of principle. He feels that it did not happen, and it was something had gone wrong, and feels that it should be corrected this way rather than through WFCSS. And honestly, I on that board too. I don't know anything about that relief program, but CAO Henderson looked into it and found that for him.
Councillor Reichert?
I'm gonna go to expertise of Deputy Reeve Clausen, who is an operator 2 licensing, I believe. I have some inside knowledge on this, but in your estimation, or in your work experience, has there ever been a meter, when a meter fails, does it fail to record the amount of water that's going through it, or does it fail adding water to the amount of water? I in my inexperience, but being roughly associated with or peripherally associated with a water company, water meters fail to register water going through them. Am I correct on that assumption?
Well, I'm not an expert.
Yes.
I have worked in the field for a number of years. We probably have people here that can answer better than I could. But it's a mechanical device. I've tested hundreds of them. They fail in favor of the customer. There's a reason why we change out meters every 15 years, is because you start losing money on them. The percentages go up, but it's a mechanical device that wears out over time. But I will defer to staff if I'm wrong. And we did the process here, like you've third-partied it. This is what everybody else does, so.
Yeah, through the chair, I can maybe speak to that somewhat. I think from our understanding, they do typically fail in favor of registering less water. However, I would also defer to more experts in the field if council wanted a more expert opinion on that of people who actually do test these water meters on a regular basis. Anyway, that's my understanding. However, again, whether they fail the other direction in some instances is I'm not sure.
If I could say again, I do feel like this is an extraordinary amount of water. If there was no leaks, where would that, if the meter didn't fail, where did that water go? There would be some kind of, like, this is the size of a fairly large swimming pool. If it's not, it would be winter, right? February, this is when it happened. There would be some signs that that water went through that meter somewhere. He lives in town. It would be quite a few truckloads. I'm sure if the neighbors saw a truck being filled or some silly thing like that, it would definitely be noticed. So at some point, you got to say, okay, where did that water go? And it's not there. So I do feel that this is warranted. Thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor Larson.
So just so that I'm clear, the meter was tested and found to be working within the parameters it was designed to work, plus or minus the 1.5%, correct?
Through the chair, yes, that's correct. And the results are on page 219.
Councillor Priest.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't we have a similar issue with a resident in Gleason recently? And we did not award them?
Yes, that's correct.
From my recollection, we've probably had, well, see, since I've been elected, I think we've had about 4 or 5 of these. And one was, there's frozen meters that have ran in abandoned buildings. Yeah, and the bills get huge. The problem that I have with forgiving cost is that cost is incurred on the taxpayer regardless. So when there's a cost to making that water, there's a cost to everything, and that will get dispersed amongst the taxpayers and the other utility users of the area. So it's hard because we have a meter that was tested, a new meter went in, and it has dropped. But there's one thing in there. There was a leaky toilet, was admitted. A leaky toilet can leak quite a bit of water.
It was intimate. It was like,
I understand, but this is just me speaking. There's no motion on the floor yet. I'm just saying that we are a utility. Unfortunately, we are a utility that is, I'll say unfortunately, that has politics attached to it. But if this was any of the other type of things, you pay it. That's the way it works. It's hard, but it's a utility. But if we subcontract this out to say an EPCOR or something like that, it wouldn't even come to us. They would just make it pay. So, and that's just where I'm at.
I do believe that one in Gleason was ongoing. It was, and it was through some different weather, and it wasn't just like a month. I can't see where this water could have gone. That's my biggest point here. And I do believe that, it was quite a few years ago, Calgary had a lot of people complaining about their water bill, and they did come back and find out that those meters did fail on the opposite side.
Okay.
So I think the ask is warranted. So yeah. I will answer any more questions.
Reeve Link or Councillor Kester, do you have any questions?
I think all I can say is there's a slim chance that a meter can, I'm hearing, not work and be against the customer. But the chances must be very, very small to have a meter that didn't work and then you go test it and says it's working. I don't know how it can typically do that. That's not working. It's charging the customer too much. We get it tested. That's working. I don't know. I'd have to go on the side of the testing and say there must have been been a leak and the water would have just run down the sewer and out into the lagoon. I don't know. It's tough. I know it's tough, but yeah, got to be fair to everybody.
Clarification on a policy for testing meters. Does ours have, we're usually supposed to, if it tests correctly, we should be charging that back. But you've said you've already waived that.
So our policy states there's a specific policy that, sorry, through the chair, there's a specific policy that has it. And that policy is, put it in the RFD, policy 9.7.1. And what it is at the request of the utility account holder, if it's requested by the utility account holder to be done. In this instance, administration, we just wanted to try to sort this out, and the issue doesn't come up super frequently. So administration just did it without the request of the utility account holder. So there would be no cost to bear on behalf of the utility account holder. So it was tested on behalf of the county. It doesn't happen super frequently, but I just want to try to make sure this is as fair as possible.
And I'm sure this meter will be put back into service somewhere else once it's tested fine. It's $600 worth of product.
Through the chair, I'm not quite sure. I could find out, but if the meter came back and the results were within the parameters, the meter technically still does work.
Okay.
There was the consideration too that the meter was still high after the plumber said there was no leaks, and they kept track of the readings until they replaced the meter. The water flow through there, the meter was still reading high. So in between that time with no leaks, the plumber was already there saying it was justified. The county staff had already been there, yet the meter was still reading high until the new meter was put in. So there is that. So with that, I'm going to actually make a motion that council does provide financial relief for utility account number 4046.01.
Just through the chair, would it be possible to, just for clarity for council, just to define the amount of financial relief? If it's full bill, half, just so council's aware of the motion. Thank you.
Your mic's not on.
Oh. To what? 16? Oh. Yeah, the amount would have been $1,432.
Does that sound correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So we have a motion on the floor with a specific amount for financial relief to the utility account 4046.01. Any discussion on the motion? I'll call the question. Reeve Link.
Can I just get confirmation what the motion is?
I just heard, can I get confirmation? And I didn't hear the last little bit.
Confirmation of the motion, please.
That counts. Oh, sorry. Can I read it again?
Yes.
That council provides financial relief of utility account number 4046.01 in the amount of $1,432.
Did you hear that, Reeve Link?
I did. Thank you. Reeve Link is opposed.
Councillor Kester?
Opposed.
Councillor Laprise?
Opposed, and also want to just reiterate the Reaching Home program should be looked into.
Councillor Bigger?
In favor.
Councillor Reichert?
Opposed.
Councillor Lowerson?
Opposed.
And I'm opposed. That's defeated. So we still have to have the original recommendation read, or is that the same thing?
It is the same thing. Council could just...
I'll put the motion forward that council does not provide financial relief for utility account number 4046.01. Any discussion? Call the question. Reeve Link.
Reeve Link is in favor. And just a quick comment, I would reiterate all of the discussion. This is a very challenging situation. And I know we've had these challenging situations before, and my heart goes out to the resident. But for me, we need to be consistent, and that consistency in the long term does protect our taxpayers. But I am certainly empathetic to this situation. Thank you.
Councillor Kester.
In favor.
Councillor Priest.
In favor.
Councillor Bigger.
Opposed?
Councillor Eichert.
In favor.
Councillor Lawerson.
In favor.
And I'm in favor. That's carried. It's unfortunate. That's the way it works. We'll move on to the consent agenda. 5.1. We have how do I look at this? We have 5.1, 5.2, and 5.3 in the consent package. So if there's anything in here that council would like to have brought out to discuss, if not, a motion would cover all three to accept as information, correct?
I'll move the consent agenda with no changes.
Is that acceptable to staff that way, or do we need to list it specifically?
Yet the motion provided by Laprise is perfect.
Thank you. So council is aware this is a new item that we're doing. Consent agenda is going to deal with one council meeting minutes, one public hearing minutes, and one municipal affairs correspondence. Motion is on the floor. Any discussion? Call the question. Reeve Link.
In favor.
Councillor Kester.
Favor.
Councillor Laprise.
In favor.
Pardon me, Councillor Bigger.
In favor?
Councillor Eichert.
In favor.
Councillor Lawerson.
In favor.
And I'm in favor. That is carried. We'll move on to, and there's no business from the consent agenda. 7.1 Reeves report on page 86. Go ahead.
Thank you, Deputy. Thank you, Deputy Reeve Clausen. My report is included in the package, and I will move that it be accepted as presented, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Reeve Link? Seeing none, hearing none, I will call the question. Reeve Link.
In favor.
Councillor Kester.
In favor.
Councillor Priest.
In favor.
Councillor Bigger.
In favor?
Councillor Eichert.
In favor.
Councillor Lawerson.
In favor.
And I'm in favor. That's carried. 7.2, my report is on page 180 of the council package. I'll move my report as presented. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. No hands, no questions. I'll call the question. Reeve Link.
In favor.
Councillor Kester.
In favor.
Councillor Priest.
In favor.
Councillor Bigger.
In favor?
Councillor Eichert.
In favor.
Councillor Lawerson. And I'm in favor. That's carried. Move on to 7.3 Division 1 report.
My report is on.
Oh, no, sorry,
11:55. Yeah, no, thank you for that. Sorry, go ahead.
My report is on page 181. One thing that I need to amend, I wasn't able to attend the June 27th Wheatland Housing Management Body meeting. I meant to, but I was on the road at the time, so I just wasn't able to attend. So that's an error. Besides that, I will move my report as presented unless there's questions.
Any questions on the report? Motion on the floor. I'll call the question. Reeve Link.
In favor.
Councillor Kester.
In favor.
Councillor Priest.
In favor.
Councillor Bigger.
In favor?
Councillor Eichert.
In favor.
Councillor Lawerson.
Favor.
And I'm in favor. That's carried. Move on to Division 3 report on page 195. Oh, or it's handed out.
It's handout. Sorry. Didn't get it in time.
Do the people that are calling in, do they have this?
No, I don't.
I could read it out. Had council on the 4th, and the Municipal Planning Commission on the 11th, and council again on the 18th. And then on the 26th, we had a WFCSS meeting. In that in that meeting, we were told that the transportation grant for 2025-26 was denied. Funds from reserves will be used to cover the next 2 months. There's a new policy manual approved, and cooking classes were held in partnership with Wheatland Youth Network. And it'll be going to the rural areas also. Home support had 34 clients in May.
Thank you for your report. Any questions? Oh, no, you have.
And I'll move it as presented.
There's a motion on the floor to move the report as presented. Any questions of Councillor Bigger? I just had one. The transportation grant, what does that all cover?
So WFCSS mandate or is they do not support transportation for residents. So we applied for a grant last year, and we've got some of that grant went to transportation costs in subsidizing handy bus, and I think it actually is for meals too.
That grant was an all-encompassing one from Calgary Foundation. It included a bunch of things like food, like a cooking class.
Cooking classes.
But also transportation. So since then there was a new grant opening that our CAO applied for that just had to do with transportation, providing service like through you'd hire people to actually do this service. So, but we were denied. But this is a service that we feel is, I'm sorry, Donna.
Yeah, this is a service that we feel is necessary for our area because we have a large area and it's rural, and with our seniors, it's used quite often, but WFCSS does not support transportation. So we apply through grants. But as and also it actually, for home support, it doesn't, when we go into residents or seniors that we do home support for, we had to actually lower some of the programs that we did because of transportation. So we apply for grants now to replace that. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much. Any other questions? If not, there's a motion on the floor. I'll call the question. Reeve Link.
In favor.
Councillor Kester.
In favor.
Councillor Priest.
In favor, and I do apologize.
Councillor Bigger.
In favor.
Councillor Eichert.
In favor.
Councillor Larson.
In favor.
And I'm in favor. That's carried. Move on to 7.5 Division 4 report on page 196.
My report is on the server. The only thing I want to bring to attention is on June 19th WRC meeting. On page 197 are the answers that WRC asked Brownlee and to the questions that the county had at the unanimous shareholders agreement meeting. And if there's and I don't know if you've had a chance to, if everybody's had a chance to look at the answers, and if they have any questions as administration, do they have any concerns? Because we have to bring these questions back to WRC, whether there are any concerns. If there's not any, if there are any concerns, could you address either myself or Deputy Reeve Clausen? And so having saying that, I'll if there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. If not, I'll move my report.
Any questions for Councillor Eichert? I can follow up with a little bit on. Go ahead.
I was just wondering if we might be able to have administration review the correspondence that was shared from WRC Legal Counsel, just to analyze for council and give their opinion if there's anything that we should be asking.
I think that's a great proposal, because what came forward, a lot of these questions were from administration, because we're not up to speed on a lot of these finite things. So does council have a problem with us kicking it to administration for advice? Do we need a motion to do that?
Through the chair, you should. Might as well, just so we don't forget.
Okay. So we'll deal with the motion of the acceptance of the report as information, and if you want to do a follow-up motion after, or anybody does, that'd be great. So there's a motion on the floor to accept the report as information. We've had a few questions. I'll call the question. Reeve-Link?
In favor.
Councillor Kester?
In favor.
Councillor Priest?
In favor.
Councillor Bigger?
Favor?
Councillor Eichert?
In favor.
Councillor Lowerson?
In favor.
And I'm in favor. Let's just take a 5-minute break because I see Reeve-Link walking in right now, and I can hand the chair over to her. We'll be back at 11:15.
Good morning. We'll call the meeting back to order and resume discussion on agenda item 7.5. There was discussion of a motion to refer the WRC correspondence to administration. Councillor Eichert.
I'd like to make a motion that we direct administration to review Brownlee's answers from WRC pertaining to the USA
And the bylaws.
and the bylaw. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry?
Review and advise.
Right. Yeah. Review and advise.
We'll just wait for the motion to come up. Yeah.
Review and advise.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, sorry, just so everybody could view the bylaw, or sorry, the resolution. So for Councillor Kester, the motion is that council direct administration to review and advise maybe regarding Brownlee's answers from WRC pertaining to the USA and the bylaws. Any questions or discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. Councillor Laprise?
In favor.
Councillor Bigger?
In favor?
Councillor Eichert?
In favor.
Reeve-Link is in favor. Deputy Reeve Clausen?
In favor.
Councillor Kester? You might be on mute, Councillor.
Sorry, I was on mute.
Yeah, perfect.
Favor.
Thank you. Councillor Lowerson?
In favor.
Motion is carried. We'll move to agenda item 7.6. Councillor Kester, are you there?
My report. Yeah, my report's on the server. I also got one other thing I'd like to talk about. I've been approached by one of my ratepayers. He lives on Township Road 254, east of the 564 on the 21 on the south side. So that whole road, 254, there's quite a few. Oh, there's some acreages on it. There's farmers on it. There's a Hutterite colony all in it. And it's a gravel road. And there is cattle on it, and there's sheep on it, and there's commuters go on that. So that road from the 21 goes through to Range Road 233, which is the paved rocky floored road, as we call it. Goes from the number 1 to the number 9. Anyway, he's been having trouble with speeders on this road. He's gotten hold of our special constables, and they're doing what they can. And they were even going to maybe try and work in some after-hour shifts too. But the speed limit is 80, so if they're doing 90 or 100, it's not much of a deterrent. So we got his dog hit, and it's a highly trained dog used for coyote control on the sheep. And I guess they were across the road in this pasture and moving these sheep. And anyway, this car come along and hit his dog. And he was pretty upset. I can understand. They were prize dogs. And they don't play on the road. So I don't know what to do about this, except my only solution in talking to them is lower the speed limit. They know nobody's going to follow it, but if somebody is speeding and the peace officers, constables will have the option of issuing a speed ticket or not, and it would hurt. So if we make the speed limit 50 kilometers per hour for that section, I would say at least to the Highway 21, all the way to the 233, and see what happens. And that would just give special officers just a little more clout when they're issuing tickets. Maybe people will slow down. It's coyote season this time of year. They got their young ones. They're very aggressive. And of course, cattle and sheep having their babies this time of year, and they're more vulnerable. And we lost the calf this year to coyotes. And I got a couple neighbors that lost calves to coyotes too this year. It's very seldom you hear a calf being lost by coyotes. So I don't know what to do except the speed limit. They don't want the road paved because that just means more traffic. The road used to be fairly rough. The county's got it fixed up pretty nice, and it just makes it go faster. They probably like the washboards back for sure. So I don't know if I can just make a motion for 50 kilometers an hour, or if we'd like to have a report from our special constables like we do sometimes and ask them for recommendations. But this is affecting their right to farm the traffic in the area. And that was the concern I had this morning with all those acreages. 4 acreages that are there now, there's just 4 traffics, 4 cars, maybe more, but let's say 1 of them. And if we just double it all of a sudden, it's double that. They're not people from the area. They're not agricultural producers. Tendency not to be agricultural producers. So, and they're got a job at Strathmore. They're traveling the road. So we have to come up with something to help our farmers out. So I'm open to suggestions. Anybody else got a good idea out there?
Thank you for bringing that forward, Councillor Kester. I think it is good for us to explore potential solutions to this issue. I think there was some really good conversation this morning around the right to farm, and I think Council is committed to engaging on strategies to strengthen that and strengthen the awareness of that in Wheatland County. I like the idea of bringing it back to Committee of the Whole. There are municipalities that have documents around this that are sort of front and center during the development process so that people are aware of that. Regarding the speeding specifically, I wouldn't mind seeing a report from administration with some recommendations, both from our administration and our peace officers, and I'll turn it to CAO Henderson.
Yes, so through the chair, there's 2 points I just want to kind of mention. So the first one, I do know that the peace officers are actively patrolling that area and they're trying to find culprits on the issue that Councillor Kester made. I know they're also going to be doing a speed survey as well on this one, just so we can understand the issue at hand, and then we'll bring that back to council for information. And then the second one is kind of off Councillor Kester's topic, but the Reeve did bring it up, is that council did make a comment about the right to farm and some information coming back to Committee of the Whole, but council should finalize that just in putting that into a motion, so it's on the record that we do bring that back. Thank you.
Sure. Councillor Kester, we'll just address the right to farm. I think Councillor Bigger has a motion, and then we can specifically address the speeding concerns, perhaps with a request for administration to bring a report back, and then we can address the report itself. We'll go to Councillor Bigger first.
I would like to direct staff to bring back to the committee of the whole either how we can address the right to farm through information, however that would look like, as an example, pamphlets or anyone who's getting a development permit in the rural areas.
We'll give administration a moment. We'll read the motion. So Councillor Bigger has moved that Council direct administration to bring back to a committee of the whole a report addressing the right to farm through information. So that can give us some recommendations from administration, and then Council can work on developing a strategy to mitigate some of the concerns that were raised during this morning's public hearing, as well as the concerns that Councillor Kester is raising. And I think we all experience this. We all have these interface issues in our division, and I appreciated the debate this morning around balancing the right to farm and consideration of our agricultural producers and maintaining that strongly in the county, but also balancing that with, as Councillor Laprise referenced, that compromise of also strongly respecting landowner rights. And so it's constantly that balancing of those competing principles. Does anybody have any questions or discussion about the motion on the floor?
I guess I should have maybe mentioned that we should probably work with the ASB board.
That's a good idea.
In coming up with what we should do about it, like what kind of stuff should be in a pamphlet, or I don't know if you want to put that in there, or we can do that at committee of the whole.
Does administration have a preference?
No preference. We'll just prepare it. Administration obviously is the administration of the ASB, so we can also bring it back to ASB for information.
If it's discussed at ASB, let me know. I'd like to be there because I have probably a huge interface between these two, and there's both sides of it. It's not just the farm side.
So perhaps just for clarity, and I don't have my procedure bylaw in front of me, but perhaps it could be a friendly amendment to add "and the Agricultural Service Board." So to bring back to a committee of the whole and the Agricultural Service Board a report, and then we're ensuring that it's going to both.
Perfect, thank you.
Is everybody clear on the motion? Any further questions? I'll call the question. Councillor Laprise.
In favor.
Councillor Bigger.
In favor.
Councillor Eichert.
In favor.
Reeve-Link is in favor. Deputy Reeve Clausen.
In favor.
Councillor Kester.
In favor.
Councillor Laverson.
In favor.
Motion is carried. Councillor Kester, would you like to make a motion regarding a report for some information and potential strategies to address the speeding?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that staff continue monitoring this road in question, and I don't know, committee of the whole, or if staff want to bring it back sooner to council. I don't care. Staff's choice. On possible solutions.
We'll just give administration a moment with the motion.
I guess next committee of the whole is next month anyway, so we'll just make it the committee of the whole.
Sounds good, Councillor Kester. So we have a motion moved by Councillor Kester that Council direct administration to continue monitoring the road in question and to bring back a report to a future Committee of the Whole meeting with recommendations. Any questions or discussion on the motion? I'll call the question. Councillor Lawerson.
In favor.
Councillor Kester.
In favor.
Deputy Reeve Clausen.
I'm in favor.
Reeve Link is in favor. Councillor Eichert.
In favor.
Councillor Baker.
In favor?
Councillor Laprise.
In favor.
Motion is carried. And finally, Councillor Kester, a motion to accept your report as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Councillor Kester. Are there any questions regarding the report? I'll call the question. Councillor Lawerson.
In favor.
Councillor Kester.
In favor.
Deputy Reeve Clausen.
In favor.
Reeve Link is in favor. Councillor Eichert.
In favor.
Councillor Baker.
In favor?
Councillor Laprise.
In favor.
Motion is carried. We'll move to agenda item 7.7.
My report's in the handout. It's pretty straightforward. If there's any questions, I can answer them. Otherwise, I'll move my report as presented.
Curious as what's in the report.
June 4th council meeting, June 6th to 9th the FCM conference, June 11th MPC, June 18th council meeting, June 27th Wheatland housing meeting, and then on the 28th there was a team meetings with Martin Shields, which was quite interesting.
Any questions regarding the report? I will just note, and I should have noted it during my report, I actually did miss the meeting that Councillor Lawerson referenced on June 28th. I had an RMA event that I thought I was going to be able to balance both, but I was not. So when I submitted the report, I had intended to go, but anything critical that Council should be aware of, Councillor Lawerson?
I wouldn't say anything critical. It was interesting that it was well attended by a lot of municipalities. What I found interesting is they're dealing with the same concerns that we are, and I think we should be very thankful we have Martin Shields as our MP.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Councillor Lawerson. Any other questions regarding Councillor Lawerson's report? I'll call the question. Councillor Laprise.
In favor.
Councillor Bigger.
In favor?
Councillor Eichert.
In favor.
Reeve Link is in favor. Deputy Reeve Clausen.
In favor.
Councillor Kester.
In favor.
And Councillor Lawerson.
In favor.
Motion is carried. And I guess just a question to, I believe we had 3 councillors attend FCM. I believe Councillor Laprise referenced it in her report and had some notes. Deputy Reeve Clausen and Councillor Lawerson, I think you were all at FCM. Do you guys have anything to add beyond what Councillor Laprise, I know you had some notes included in your report. Anything else to report back to Council? Deputy Reeve Clausen.
I attended. I went in with an open mind. I did enjoy the networking. Most of the sessions were urban centric. I talked to a lot of rural members that said this is probably the first and last one they will go to. And that was very common. And I think by us not really highlighting it says a lot. There wasn't a lot to, I'd never been to one before. I went to this one because it was close. And yeah, I won't be going to another one. I can do more with RMA, and I hope RMA gets stronger, because if we got to rely on FCM, we're going nowhere.
Councillor Lawerson.
And I would say much similar. I had the networking. I met with the Deputy Reeve of the MD of Willow Creek, who came up for it as well, because he's a friend of mine. And we both agreed that that was 4 days of meetings that could have been quite nicely condensed into one. Not a lot for what we got. The Prime Minister's presentation was very well attended, and reception was varied. How's that?
It's very diplomatic. For those who were not there, I'll just ask a question. If you were having a Calgary reception for delegates and colleagues all across Canada, what would you serve for dinner?
Chicken.
Naturally, that's what we ate. What kind of music would you have? It was not what I would envision as a Calgary showcase, but that's just my opinion. But I would concur the networking, there were really good opportunities. Some of the sessions were excellent. I was there on behalf of RMA, but probably the strongest session I was at was around the rural urban divide with connectivity that Rogers put on. And it was actually very encouraging, and we've had some encouraging conversations with Rogers about solutions for rural Alberta in the future. Several of the sessions were inaccessible, so I had several that I had planned to attend, but the doors were locked and they were at capacity. Even keynotes, several of those, it was very crowded standing room outside of the room where the sessions were held, so it was somewhat challenging to participate in all of the sessions that I had hoped to. But definitely delegates from across Canada, I think, enjoyed visiting Calgary and Alberta. And certainly I heard good things about some of the study tours, and Councillor Priest referenced that as well. But I appreciate the feedback. Deputy Reeve Clausen.
I just want to follow up on the networking. I ended up having the, very fortunate to sit at the mayor's reception, I guess it was, Calgary, and had some rural Quebec people sitting with us, and I had gentlemen from Energy from Waste that could speak both languages. It was really good. We're very similar. I think the rural component, and I think there was some discussion about having FCM on a rural level. It's just a lens, maybe through RMA, something like that. But they're very similar to us. Doesn't matter where they're at. It's the same problems. And I think we'd get more for rural Canada if we did that. Because you get in a room with those big players, and it's becomes very clear very fast who they're playing to. And we'll have more traction with our own similar-minded people. And I mean, just sitting there, I had 4 people from a small rural place from Quebec, and it was amazing to talk to them. Very similar problems, you know. And that's where our strengths are. Very similar thought processes and everything, and a lot of in-education about what Western Canada is about.
Yeah, I would definitely.
In education, uneducated.
Lack of education. I definitely would echo those comments, and I do have some ideas around that. And I think it's something that RMA could or will be exploring in the future. Just with offering business services and insurance across Canada, I think there's some synergies there in terms of uniting that rural voice federally. And I will bring back to council as soon as we have more information on that. Any other questions or discussion on Councillor Laverson's report? Oh, we did. Thank you. Good discussion. Thank you, everybody. We will move to agenda item 8.11, CAO Henderson.
Yes, good morning, Council. Brian from administration. So on page 202 of your agenda package is my monthly report. So just to note, business as usual kind of on our end. Also going forward, I'm going to be handling the economic development inquiries. So that's just one other point I wanted to note. And then on page 204, we actually reported this to council last year. So what we're doing is we're going to try to bring back annual statistics that typically are reported right around this time. So this was done on June 15th. So, and it has been done June 15th year over year. And the reason why we're doing June 15th is that we feel that at this point in time, we're fully staffed with all of our seasonal staff. So just kind of gives council an idea of just employment statistics at the county and just kind of the change year over year, the breakdown of gender, and all the employee classes of staff. So the employee classes, it really didn't change a lot because I don't think there was any new positions added, but these will just be positions filled, just so council is aware. On page 206 of your agenda package is the council resolution tracker, as always. Anything in yellow is deemed complete. Anything in yellow is deemed ongoing. Anything in green is deemed complete. If there are any questions about this report, please let me know. Thank you.
Any questions for CAO Henderson regarding his report or the resolution tracker?
I'll move that council accept the June 2024 Chief Administration Officer report as information.
Thank you, Councillor Eichert. Deputy Reeve Clausen.
Page 204, the 2 gender thing, rural Alberta, that's all I got to say. Because I've heard there's like 14 genders now. So. 82, whatever. But I'm fine with this.
Question to CAO Henderson. Do you have an FTE count?
We do. We can get that. So right now what we did was just full-time, part-time, because people work different hours. So that you'd have to kind of fractionalize. So what we can do is we can come up with that number and just kind of based on hours.
If you could bring it back to the next council meeting, and then if you could also maybe integrate that just into this FTE snapshot or into the employee statistics snapshot, it just would be good to monitor. I know it's on our municipal dashboard or whatever, but just good for it to come to council every year.
Yeah, and that and these statistics are just something that administration just did last year, and we thought we'd provide an update again this year, just so council's kind of aware. But if there's any other modifications, we'd love to do them and bring them back to council for your information on the operations of the county. Thank you.
I do really appreciate the metrics, especially around turnover and years of service. I think it's pretty incredible when you look at that we have 11 employees that have been here over 26 years, and the amount of wisdom and experience that those employees bring to our team is outstanding, and it's nice to see that. It's also nice to see that we do have newer staff joining our team as well and bringing those fresh perspectives and expertise as well. So I do appreciate the reporting. Any other questions on the CAO report or resolution tracker? I'll call the question. Councillor Laprise?
In favor?
Councillor Bigger?
In favor?
Councillor Eichert?
In favor?
Reeve Link is in favor. Deputy Reeve Clausen?
In favor.
Councillor Kester?
In favor.
And Councillor Laursen?
In favor.
Motion is carried. A motion to accept the council resolution tracker. Thank you, Councillor Bigger. Any questions or discussion? I'll call the question. Councillor Laprise?
In favor?
Councillor Bigger?
In favor?
Councillor Eichert?
In favor?
Reeve Link is in favor. Deputy Reeve Clausen?
I'm in favor.
Councillor Kester?
In favor.
And Councillor Laursen?
In favor.
Motion is carried. We'll move to agenda item 8.12.
Yes, good morning, Council. Brian from administration again. On page 212 of your agenda package is the Alberta Transportation Southern Region Open Golf Tournament. So this request comes to administration, we believe, every year. I think there was one year that it did not, and that was 2022. So in 2021, Wheatland County did send 2 councillors and 1 administrative staff member to this golf tournament. And in 2023, that event did occur the same day as a council meeting, so we did not send any representation. I believe when it was done in 2021, I think it was overall like positive, just with the networking that you can do with Alberta Transportation, other councillors within the area and things like that. So thought this is a good opportunity to send a couple councillors to this one as well. Administration would send probably 1 or 2, just complete a foursome on this golf tournament, but administration wouldn't require a resolution to do so. If there's any questions about this report, please let me know. Thank you.
Council's wishes.
I'll move that council approve registration, mileage, and per diems for 2 Wheatland County councillors to attend the ATEX Southern Region Golf Tournament in Lethbridge on August 15th, 2024.
Any questions or discussion?
I'd support the motion. Myself, I had the privilege of attending in the past, and although I'm not a golfer, it was really good to network with Alberta Transportation. Their direct reports are at that tournament, lots of discussion. And there's lots of contractors there too, Volker and CarMax, and all the big guys are there. So it's really good. And I believe that's when we first took on our new staff. Brad, Mr. Bullock came with us, and it was a really good networking event, and I believe it benefited the county. It was really hot that day, but it was well worth it. So.
Any other questions or discussion? I'll call the question. Councillor Laprise?
In favor?
Councillor Bigger?
Favor?
Councillor Eichert?
In favor?
Reeve Link is in favor. Deputy Reeve Clausen?
In favor.
Councillor Kester?
In favor.
Councillor Laursen?
In favor.
Motion is carried. We'll move to Good question. Does everybody want to perhaps confirm whether you would like to attend and if you're available, and perhaps email council and CEO Henderson, and we'll just see what the numbers are like. If there's more available than spots, perhaps we can draw names or something so that it's fair. I suspect in summer it may be somewhat challenging, but is everybody comfortable with that? And then we all have an idea of who is available. Okay. Perfect. Maybe just if administration could send out an email just to start the process and remind us to do so. Thank you so much. Good question, Deputy Reeve Clausen. Let's move to agenda item 8.1. Oh, sorry, we did 3 already. 8.21.
Good morning, Council. Corey from Administration, here to report on the Corporate and Financial Services report to Council for June 2024. I don't have too much to add to this report, other than June 30th was the deadline for the tax payment, and so staff are now processing any mail that have been received over the weekend, and any that would be coming in that would have been the letter would have been dated for June 30th. So we're hoping to get a final answer on the totals that we've received since then. And the only thing I want to add is we've completed the maintenance manager and citizen request release, and hopefully the citizen request system will be the next official system in line that we're going to be releasing to the public, but there is some testing internally that's being done. But I believe, I don't want to steal Brad's thunder too much, but the maintenance manager, we've had training with staff on that, and they'll begin using it internally as a mechanism to be able to track where issues are happening in the county and be able to manage that a little bit more efficiently with maps and things. So we've had good feedback on that. So that's only the thing I want to mention, and that concludes my report. I'm here for any questions you might have.
Thank you. Any questions from council?
Thank you. Just looking on the return mail for the property tax assessment, and I see 288 were returned. We were able to get 140, so that still leaves 148. So it's just important to highlight that to council, because if some of these come back and say they didn't get, and it says no, we haven't given any leeway there, but it's amazing that some people, their address is still out. That many are still out, because I think they had a 1-year automatic forwarding with Canada Post when it changed, and you could even pay to another year if you wanted to. But, yeah, so we might have a few stragglers. Just wanted to highlight that.
Yeah, and I know administration has done some focus public awareness just around tax deadlines and address changes and things like that. So I think we've done everything that we can in terms of public awareness, but certainly, yes, an issue. And I know land titles was part of the challenge. They were significantly slowed down in terms of turnaround time for processing those requests. I think it's a little bit better now, but still, repairs do need to make those changes. So, and I do just want to thank staff for the links that you've gone to address those where we had a mechanism to get those notices to our residents. So thank you. Any other questions or discussion?
Is there a motion? Not yet.
Not yet.
I'll make the motion that council accepts the Corporate and Financial Services report to council for June 2024 as information.
Thank you, Deputy Reeve Clausen. Any other questions or discussion on the report? I'll call the question. Councillor Laursen?
In favor.
Councillor Kester?
In favor.
Deputy Reeve Clausen?
In favor.
Reeve-Link is in favor. Councillor Eichert?
In favor.
Councillor Bigger?
In favor?
Councillor Laprise?
In favor.
Motion is carried. We'll move to agenda item 8.31.
Good morning, Council. Sherry Beresford Community Development Services to provide the June 2024 update. I don't have anything additional to add at this time. That concludes my presentation.
Any questions from council regarding the report? If not, a motion to accept as information.
Also move.
Thank you, Councillor Laprise. Final call for questions or discussion. I'll call the question. Councillor Laverson.
In favor.
Councillor Kester.
In favor.
Deputy Reeve Clausen.
In favor.
Reeve Link is in favor. Councillor Eichert.
In favor.
Councillor Bigger.
In favor?
And Councillor Laprise.
In favor.
Motion is carried. And we do have an 11:55 presentation, and so I'm going to move to that just so that we don't get into the next agenda item with that development permit to need to interrupt partway through. The Alberta Emergency Services Medal recognizes good conduct for members of an emergency service with over 12 years of service in Alberta. I would like to present Community Peace Officer Stephen Benoit with the Alberta Emergency Services Medal. To qualify for this medal, the recipient must have completed 12 years of service and have had to undertake all required training for their position prescribed by the municipality and the Ministry of Public Safety and Emergency Services. Stephen started his career as a peace officer with the City of Airdrie in 2011 and moved to Wheatland County in 2022 to begin his service here. Stephen is an extremely valuable asset to the Protective Services Department and our entire Wheatland County. His professionalism, knowledge, and ability continue to show each and every day Stephen comes into work. Thank you to Stephen for his continued service to the citizens of Wheatland County and to all of Alberta. And we'll just take a moment and present the medal. Perhaps actually I'll recess council now and we can do the medal presentation. Excellent. We'll call the meeting back to order and we will move to agenda item 8.32.
Good afternoon. I'm Suzanne Hayes, Development Officer with Wheatland County. The application is DP 2024-053 for a variance to the maximum building height for a dwelling single detached. This application goes to council rather than Municipal Planning Commission because Muirfield is a direct control district. We have the location plan found on page 248 of the agenda package. It is located within the Lakes of Muirfield, immediately southeast of the intersection of Muirfield Boulevard and Muirfield Crescent. The circulation map is on the same page. We circulated to adjacent landowners +1. We received 17 responses in opposition. We did circulate to the inspections group, who is the county safety codes provider, and they said that after consulting with the building safety codes officer, we confirmed that the roof height and pitch can be adjusted and there are no real concerns or items the builder needs to be aware of. If the pitch is below 312, there are special shingles that are required, but that would be the extent of it. The builder would need to submit revised truss layouts drawings for review if he adjusts the plan. Our internal circulation, we didn't have any concerns, excuse me. So on page 251, we have some drawings or some photographs of the dwelling currently under construction. This application is to address a dwelling currently under construction that does not meet the maximum building height for the district. The land use bylaw specifies that a building may not be higher than 10 meters measured from highest grade to the peak of the roof. For this dwelling, the highest grade is 960.58 meters and the peak of the roof is 972.37, which is a difference of 11.79 meters, 1.79 meters over height. In order to bring the dwelling into compliance, one of the following actions may be taken. A variance may be granted to the maximum height requirement, allowing the dwelling to remain at 11.79 meters. Fill material may be added to the highest grade of the lot, which is right in front of the building where the front window is, making the difference between the highest grade to the peak of the roof a lesser distance. or modifications may be made to the overall building height and or the peak of the roof. This application has been made to request a variance to the maximum building height. A little bit of background. The applicant first applied for architectural approval. The design consultant advised that the design did not meet the roof pitch requirements. And we have a few diagrams here. Oops, 242. So it did not meet. It did not meet the roof pitch requirements, and it was requested that the design be altered to meet the 812 roof pitch. So you can see the original plan was that the roof pitch would be a lot more gradual, and it was required that they increase the roof pitch. The permit went on to the development permit stage and was reviewed. The site plan was reviewed with amendments requested. The development officer, myself, noted that all 4 sides had the design approval stamp and did not notice that the elevations were not depicted on the front elevation drawing. The development permit was issued on October 23rd, 2023, with no variances requested or granted. In February 2024, the builder asked if they would be allowed to increase the second floor height from 8 feet to 9 feet. Both the design consultant and the Safety Codes Inspection Agency were consulted. The design consultant advised that the builder should provide new plans for review. The builder was made aware of the requirement and that they should ensure the maximum building height did not exceed 10 meters in accordance with the building height requirements. The county's inspection agency was also advised, and the building safety codes officer stated that there were no building code violations or red flags associated with the increase. However, he suggested that revised drawings be submitted for review. To date, no plans have been provided to the design consultant or the inspections agency. During the construction phase, it became apparent that the building was taller than the maximum height for the district. Staff's recommendation is that council refuse DP 2024-053 for a variance to the maximum building height for a dwelling single detached for the following reasons. The building height of the dwelling is not compatible with the character of the neighborhood or other dwellings in the immediate area. When the applicant owner inquired if extra height could be added to the second floor, they were advised to submit revised plans for approval and did not. The Lakes of Muirfield Homeowners Association is amenable to relax the architectural controls and allow a 612 pitch. And the Safety Code Inspection Agency confirmed that the roof height and pitch can be adjusted with no special requirements unless the pitch is below 312. So additionally, after the report was already completed, we did get some calculations done, and to determine what an alteration to the roof pitch would mean in terms of building height. So if the roof pitch were changed to 612, the building height would be 10.8 meters. If it was changed to 512, the building height would be 10.3 meters. So we did contact the HOA to let them know about these calculations, and they advised their preference would be to reduce the roof height to 10.3 meters, which would require a 512 roof pitch. So staff have drafted some additional conditions, some alternate conditions to the recommendation for refusal should council choose to approve a variance of 10.3 meters rather than going with the outright refusal. And the conditions are posted up there. And that concludes my presentation. Is there any questions?
Any questions regarding the report? Council's wishes. We'll go to Deputy Reeve Clausen and then Councillor Laursen.
I'm just going to comment here. I'm the counselor for the area. I looked and, I've talked to the HOA, I've talked to the residents. Obviously, this is It's not a small variance, it's fairly large. It does stand out right now. Now it is under just construction still, and it's still plywood, so it stands out, but it is quite a difference in height. It is on a corner lot. So I really like what they put up here versus what's here, because we're setting a standard for the area that's been well established. So for whatever reason, it got built too big, but yeah, so, but let's see what my counselor has to say.
Councillor Larson.
All I was just going to move the council refuse DP 2024-053 for a variance to the maximum building height for a dwelling, single detached, for reasons 1 through 4 found on page 240.
I was just going to ask if, what about what staff presented?
No, I like this one.
Okay.
So the motion has been made as presented in the RFD on page 240. Open the floor to questions and discussion.
I could break out my calculator, but if we went this way, how much over the 10 meters is this? The 3 point, how much is that in?
That would, 10.3 meters would be 3 centimeters, correct?
30 centimeters.
30 centimeters.
Okay, so what is that in foot and inches? I'm sorry.
Oh, inches.
I didn't grow up in the right system.
It's 1 foot. A difference between 10 meters or 10.3 meters is 1 foot? Oh, okay, sorry.
So we're talking 1 foot difference. Okay. If you've done any, I'm going to just go back to, I spent my entire career in construction. You get a set of blueprints, and one of the pages, there's elevations on it. And that elevation will tell you what it is from the front, from the garage pad to the peak of the roof. And as a contractor, when you go into any area, the first thing you do is you find out what the maximum height is. Because you get homeowners that want to do stuff that isn't kosher. And there are certain, like this house would probably fit in a lot of different areas. It took me 2 minutes to find out what the architectural controls in Muirfield are. It's 10 meters. I agree. We have to be really, really careful about allowing anything over. We allow a 1 foot variance here. And it changed, and then the next guy comes, well, I want a 2 foot variance because we granted a 1 foot variance. This is all cut and dry. We know it's 10 meters. They can't get to 10, and I know you can get it to 10 meters, but they put an extra, a 9 foot ceiling in a second story floor. That's the three, what we're going to get them down to. So we're just going to, this is the homeowners at fault here, the architects at fault here, and the contractors at fault here. And they can they can figure out how to do this, but I'm good with we keep it at what this motion is at.
Just a question, administration. I know we had a height restriction. Is there a reason why? Because I just think in urban municipalities, they have height restrictions because of fire safety. We don't have ladder trucks in Wheatland County, so is that applicable here? Is it something that we're going to catch ourselves somewhere else?
Through the Reeve to council, based on height in other rural municipalities, it is related to the ladder and reaching, but I don't know. I would have to ask to have that confirmation here because we don't do, it's preservation of life, not the structure. So I would have to confirm whether or not, because we're not using the ladders to get up there, or if that impedes them to get up to that second floor to rescue someone. So I wouldn't be able to answer that as to that rationale, but in this particular case, it was the original developer that decided they were looking for a particular look and character for this community, and it was a prairie lifestyle, and that's why the height was chosen. And it was interesting, and this is where our interpretation, differed a little bit, the way the land use bylaw looked at it and the way the architectural controls viewed that height, because it was from the highest grade elevation, not necessarily from the architectural drawings from the base of the house to the peak roof. So we rely on our third party. It's not even our consultant that reviews this, it's through the HOA, and we do it as a courtesy.
Any other questions or discussion on the motion?
So I guess I just have just to clarify, so these architectural controls are issued by the HOA, decided by the HOA, and they have written a letter in opposition, and a significant number of letters from other residents also wanting to maintain the HOA architectural controls. It seems like we should allow them that the latitude to keep their community looking the way they had intended.
Just for clarification, the motion that's on the floor is to go to from a 612, so that's 10.8. And what staff have presented was 10.3, correct?
The motion that is on the floor is to accept this original recommendation, correct?
Correct, to refuse.
And if the DP is refused for any variance, it would need a 10-meter height to meet the bylaw.
Gotcha. Okay.
Councillor Big.
If it's my understanding that the 10.3 was okayed through the HOA?
Yes, we did contact them with these two calculations with the different roof pitches, and they thought they would prefer it to be as low as possible. So they went with the 10.3, which is the 512 roof pitch.
So actually, this motion would allow a 10.8? No.
It refuses it.
But point number 3, allow a roof, but still it doesn't matter about that roof pitch of 612. Is that right?
Those are just the reasons.
Okay.
So those aren't conditions below, they're the reasons for the refusal of a variance. So what's being proposed is a development permit for a variance to what it's been built to. Administration is recommending we refuse the application for the variance based on reasons outlined in the RFD.
So I'm just wondering how much needs to be changed to be a 10.3 versus a 10? Like the whole top floor or just the pitch? Can it still, the pitch just be changed?
Yes, a pitch can be changed. If you drop that down to a 10 or a 412, even a 312 for sure, and that's legal. You can, it takes a specialized shingle to shingle it, but they can get it to that height.
Okay.
And it's illegal. As far as I know right now, it's illegal, right? So the trusses are coming off no matter what's happening. So all we're deciding is whether or not we want them to get them back down to code so that no one's, am I correct there?
Yes, you are correct. To get it down to, not code, but to meet the bylaw. Yeah, the land use bylaw.
Any other questions or discussion? I will call the question. Councillor Laprise.
In favor.
Councillor Bigger.
In favor?
Councillor Eichert.
In favor.
Reeve Link is in favor. Deputy Reeve Clausen.
In favor.
Councillor Kester.
In favor.
Councillor Lawerson.
In favor.
Motion is carried. We'll move to agenda item 8.33.
Good afternoon, Council. Dave from Administration. On page 266 of your agenda package, report for the Layalta Community Club and Lake Sevierfield Homeowners Association. I made a request for in-kind services and gravel. The project is for new construction on the current Lyalta Community Center site and a newly purchased 7.5 acre site directly east of the community center. The two community groups are working together to on this improvement project and have engaged a landscape consultant to provide some high-level estimates, which are included in the as one of the attachments. Administration provided comments in the report, and administration is recommending against using county employees for the requested work on private lands. However, there may be an opportunity to provide some county-owned gravel contingent on determining the specification of that gravel and if it's stocked by the county. There's a gravel operation policy 9.31 that limits the amount of sales to individual ratepayers and other municipalities to a maximum of 200 tons per year. Larger volumes can be approved by council, and administration is recommending that we align with that current policy. There's also an opportunity in the 2024 capital budget that includes a $100,000 placeholder for parks upgrades for Lakes of Muirfield to fund playground improvements and servicing and surfacing of an outdoor rink. This placeholder was included due to uncertainties around the final site selection of the outdoor rink and some of the other facilities of the playground. With improved clarity on the proposed recreational developments in the region, council could now consider relocating some or all of these funds for the proposed Lyalta Community Center project. Council may adopt either or both resolutions as recommended by administration. And I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions regarding the report?
No question, just comment. We've seen in the past the Lyalta Community Association and the HOA working together on trying to redevelop a recreation area for there. We've identified it, oh, I can't remember the name of where we've identified that recreation is needed. It sells the area, and this is an area that's a higher density in my division. So I've worked with them. This is a self-directed project, which is good. They've involved our staff to help come up with some ideas, but it's always best the community comes up with what they want. So I'll make the recommendation for resolution 1 that council directs administration to supply and deliver 200 tons of gravel in kind to the Lyalta Community Center, excluding requested in-kind work on private property.
Thank you, Deputy Reeve Clausen. Any questions or discussion?
I'd like to go for it. Further, just after the motion there, I'm pretty sure this wouldn't be an all at one time delivery. By the looks of it, there's projects in phases. And I don't want staff to drop whatever they're doing to start delivering gravel to the site. I want them to work together because I know our staff are very busy maintaining existing things, but we've done this before in the past for other municipalities within our boundaries, not even our own. So maybe not this volume, but we have done this before.
Any other questions or discussion? Just a question, and I might have read it, but I didn't highlight it. What's the total amount of gravel that they would be utilizing throughout the project?
We didn't have that number determined. They haven't figured out all their grading and what their specifications are going to be, so we don't have exact quantities.
The only reason I'm asking is if it was to exceed 200 tones, and I recognize that that's our typical limit for an individual ratepayer, right? I'm just thinking because it's two community groups working together, if it was determined that there were additional gravel requirements and we have the spec that would work for the project, if we could just perhaps communicate to the community groups that they could bring forward an additional request. I'm thinking like there would be a rationale even for one community group to have one allocation, the other community group or something like that, because we do have multiple entities working together on this. Recognizing this is an asset that the county owns, but also recognizing that we do, do the sale at our cost to our ratepayers in general. I just want to open the door to if there's a potential additional need to bring that back. Obviously, it would be up to council at that time, but any other questions or discussion? I do appreciate administration's comments just around liability and the working on private land, and I think that is an important consideration, so thank you for highlighting that. If there's no other questions, I will call the question. Councillor Lawerson.
In favor.
Councillor Kester.
Approve. I'm sorry. Approve it.
Deputy Reeve Clausen.
In favor.
Reeve Link is in favor. Councillor Eichert.
In favor.
Councillor Bigger.
In favor.
Councillor Laprise.
In favor.
Motion is carried. We'll move to agenda item 8.34. Oh, my apologies. Thank you.
I'll make the motion that council amends the 2024 capital budget park upgrades, Lakes and Muirfield, to include funding the Layout the Hall project at up to $100,000. Again, similar comments from before. This is a group that has, laid out the path work for pass and upgrades of the facility for many years to come. It's nice to see that they've taken the initiative, and I might be happy to support that financially.
Any other questions or discussion? I'll call the question. Councillor Lawerson.
In favor.
Councillor Kester.
In favor.
Deputy Reeve Clausen.
In favor.
Reeve Link is in favor. Councillor Eichert.
In favor.
Councillor Bigger.
In favor.
Councillor Laprise.
In favor.
Motion is carried. Now we can move to agenda item 8.34.
Good afternoon, Council. Dave from Administration again. On page 274 of your agenda package is the Town of Strathmore, Wheatland County Region or Recreation and Cost Sharing Agreement report. The report outlines the background of the 3-year agreement, and the 1-year extension is granted in 2024. Both administrations worked on the intermunicipal collaborative framework, and those discussions, the recreation agreement was referenced or could be referenced in the ICF document as a standalone agreement. So this agreement is proposed for 4 years, 2025 to 2028, with similar terms and funding support. The Town of Strathmore Council reviewed and approved the agreement at their June 19th council meeting. Administration's recommending approval of the cost sharing agreement. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Council's wishes.
I've got a question. Is there any way we can track the usage of the county ratepayers? And the reason I would like this information is that we've got to figure out a way to do this across the county. So if we could find a per capita amount that we're spending in the town, maybe we could extrapolate that out to the other municipalities that we deal with recreational cost sharing. But I know we've been promised this in the past, and it's either hasn't been provided or we haven't seen it. But I'm just wondering, is there any merit in wanting to know how many people in our county are using these facilities?
Could we potentially ask administration to note that, and we could take it to our next ICC meeting with the Town of Strathmore? Would that be agreeable? I don't know that we need a motion. We could just note it and add it to as a discussion item with the town for our next meeting. Deputy Reeve Clausen.
Yeah, I have no problem supporting this motion going forward, but there is some things I'd like to note. I brought it up before. Lacrosse is in Strathmore is a big deal, and there are a lot of kids still now that can't use this facility at all. It's been brought forward. The boards that were there at one time are now gone. They were for younger generations, younger kids. And Strathmore right now, I think they're one of the U14 or 15. I might be mistaken. Went to cities and provincials, and the U18s are going. So there's a really good lacrosse group in Strathmore, well known. And actually, from what I've heard, they may be pulling out of Strathmore and going into other areas because there's no place for them to practice. So they could be Chestermere or La Crosse or something else. And it's kind of sad because we have a facility there that could be utilized for it. They would be very willing to pay rent and utilize it and practice there and do everything, but they still have to wait for the ice to come out. They play against kids in Calgary that have facilities available to them lots more, so they're usually 2.5 to 3 months behind before they even start, and they're still doing that well. So it'd be really nice. I brought this up before to Town of Strathmore administration. They basically say that it's full and being utilized, and they're not interested. But we're cost sharing this, and I think it's ridiculous that we're sending our kids to practice in Calgary when there's a perfectly good building there that we could invest in some boards, and we probably have some really stellar teams, better than what we have now. So I think it's something we have to work on. It's not going to go away. These kids are, and it's a really good sport, and it actually happens to be the national sport of Canada. So
I know we've had some correspondence with the town of Strathmore regarding that in the past. Let's add that to the next ICC meeting as well. If admin, I've noted it too, but we'll have administration note it. And perhaps if admin could just pull the previous correspondence just so we have that prior to the next ICC meeting as well. And then we can bring information back to council about both those matters. Councillor Laprise, did you have a question?
Just to clarifying, it mentioned something about the certain facilities bound by this agreement. So what facilities are in and what are out? It doesn't include George Freeman, does it? Is this just the arena?
It does include it.
It does include George Freeman?
Section 4 on page 278 says that agreement will continue as a separate agreement, but that there will be no additional fund. That's how I'm interpreting it, and I believe that's how it was explained last time.
Okay.
So the funding of that facility is included in this agreement. I think we want the agreement to stand because it exceeds the term of this agreement, is how I understood it.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah, that's correct for the Strathmore Motor Products Center.
So it'd be that center, the arena,
The arena and the pool.
pool, curling rink.
I don't believe the curling rink.
Nope, separate. Okay. So just the three big ones, I guess. Yeah, okay.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or discussion? Oh, right.
I'll move that council approve the Town of Strathmore Wheatland County Recreational Cost Sharing Agreement and authorize the Reeve and Chief Administrative Officer to sign the agreement.
Thank you, Councillor Bigger. Any other questions or discussion? We'll call the question. Councillor Laprise?
In favor.
Councillor Bigger?
In favor.
Councillor Eichert?
In favor.
Reeve-Link is in favor. Deputy Reeve Clausen?
In favor.
Councillor Kester?
In favor.
Councillor Lawerson?
In favor.
Motion is carried. We'll move to agenda item 8.41.
Good afternoon, Council. Brad Bullock presenting the June Transportation and Agriculture Department report found on page 282 of the agenda. So with page 282 and 283, highlighting some of the capital and operational projects the department is working on. And then on 285 and 286, some of the activities and upcoming events highlighted with our agriculture and environment group. And I'm here for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions regarding the report?
I'll move that council accepts the June 2024 Transportation and Agriculture Department report as information.
Thank you, Councillor Laprise. Any questions or discussion? Just one question, and it's just to open the discussion and perhaps if administration wants to bring information back, but given the awareness that's been raised around the issues with the water pipes in the city of Calgary, I've heard sort of a couple of issues highlighted, the steel wire issues that they indicated may have started in the 1970s and then changes with the, I don't know, some kind of resistance in the concrete that started prior to that. And also acknowledging we have the ongoing asset management. Are we doing anything to analyze our own water infrastructure just in terms of catastrophic failure and potentially known anticipated risk of that.
Yeah, this can be a challenge to see and know when those, even the conditions of some of the older pipes. And there's a lot of infrastructure even in the county that were inherited from the county through hamlets that are now hamlets that used to be villages that the county didn't install that infrastructure. All that said, yes, we are still having lots of discussions about building up the asset management program to better understand the condition of the pipes, year they were installed, service life, and then have a system where we can kind of manage and rotate through. So it's not a black and white answer to your question, but no, we are certainly aware of those challenges and are working to come up with a system to help address those. There's always that risk that you're going to, get that collapsed pipe, those things that come up, but certainly we want to put in the effort to try and avoid that where possible.
Perfect. I appreciate the work done on it. And I think as council, we can apply that lens as we're reviewing those asset management, as that work is completed and as it comes to council. Thank you so much. Any other questions or discussion? I'll call the question. Councillor Laprise?
In favor?
Councillor Bigger?
In favor?
Councillor Eichert?
In favor.
Reeve-Link is in favor. Deputy Reeve Clausen?
In favor.
Councillor Kester?
In favor.
Councillor Lowerson?
In favor.
Motion is carried. We'll move to agenda item 8.42.
Afternoon, Council. Cody Zimmerman with Administration, presenting the EPR transition model decision. Alberta's Extended Producer Responsibility Regulation, or EPR, came into force on November 30th, 2022. EPR is designed to shift the physical and financial burden of collecting, sorting, processing, and recycling waste away from municipalities and taxpayers and onto producers. Per Council Resolution CM 2023-1137, Administration registered Wheelan County with the Alberta Recycling Management Authority for Phase 1 of the EPR system rollout prior to the December 31st, 2023 deadline. Since that time, staff have attended numerous Alberta working group meetings involving other municipalities and Circular Materials, who is the Producer Responsibility Organization, or PRO, responsible for the implementation of packaging and paper products, or PPP, service rollout, as well as attended working groups meetings hosted by the Drumheller District Solid Waste Management Association, or the DDSWMA, involving participating association members. The primary focus of these meetings was to discuss how the PRO will be rolling out the services to the registered communities, explains transitional models, discuss agreements, and to answer questions regarding the program. The next step in the EPR system rollout requires communities to choose a path forward within the program by August 1st, 2024. You've provided diagram, just kind of goes over the next steps and deadlines within the program. Communities may either choose to deregister from the program, engage in one of two different transition operational models. A brief overview of each option, outlining some of the model benefits and disadvantages, has been provided within the report. I can go through those, or if you're happy, I can just keep going into the end.
I think we've all reviewed it. So.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Noted within the report, made mention that it's not clear at this time which transition operational model the DDSWMA will be selecting. As part of the county's PPP services are directly managed by the DDSWMA through the agreement with the association. As our PPP services are directly managed by the DDSWMA through our agreement with the association, and as the association is the leaseholder for nearly all of the county's transfer site locations, their decision may have significant impacts on the county's service levels and ultimate delivery method. By selecting the opt-out transition operational model, the county significantly reduces any potential risk that may exist due to the current unknowns associated with the program, and and the DDSWMA's position. It also greatly reduces the county's responsibilities associated with the implementation and management of PPP collection services. The next steps in the opt-out process have been provided within the diagram within the report. And that concludes my report, and I'm here for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions regarding the report?
I've been heavily involved in this, and I'm glad staff came up with the same kind of idea that I thought, because the opt-in and opt-out it's interesting because you're putting the responsibility on somebody else. If we want to control it, we can to a certain degree, but it's going to take a lot of staff time, and you're going to be chasing invoicing and things like that. And it's important to note that this program is only for residential waste. Any commercial waste will not be. And if they find out there's commercial recycling in there, they're going to charge you for it. And that's where we're dealing with Drumheller Solid Waste Board, because we are we offer commercial recycling, and that's something we're going to have to deal with in the future, because we can't. It's not part of this program at all. So if it's mixed together and they find out, you're going to get a bill for it. I think this is the best solution for the county. I just ask that we inform our villages what we're doing, because they want to know what we're doing as well, because what we do affects them. But by opting out, it offers, if the pro wants to do it, they could do curbside recycling with no cost to us, no management to us or anything like that. It's up to the pro to figure it out. Now, we all know full well that they're going to go after the low-hanging fruit, which is the big cities first, it's towns. But they are mandated at 80% recycling right off the start, I believe, 80 to 85. That's huge. So they're going to need to pick some up from the rural area as well. We have good collection systems right now, but either way, we're not going to be running them in the future. So this is a setup by the province. This is what they've decided to do. They've hired or dictated it to other boards. There's a lot of acronyms in here, but it's very complicated. But the best solution I see forward is for us to opt out and let it deal directly with it.
Any other questions or discussion? I would reiterate your points. I think there are trade-offs with the recommendation, but I think the benefits outweigh the risks with autonomy and control of.
We're still going to have our transfer sites open. We just won't be taking certain things. It could be up to the pro to figure that out. So I can make the motion that council direct administration to remain registered with the EPR program and to inform producer responsibility organization that Wheatland County is choosing the opt-out transition service model.
Thanks, Deputy Reeve Clausen. Any questions or discussion? I'll call the question. Councillor Laverson.
In favor.
Councillor Kester.
Favor.
Deputy Reeve Clausen.
In favor.
Reeve Link is in favor. Councillor Eichert.
In favor.
Councillor Bigger.
In favor.
Councillor LaPriest.
In favor.
Motion is carried. Thank you to administration for all your work on this. We'll move to agenda item 8.43.
Hello again, Council. Cody Zimmerman with administration with the Muirfield Paving Capital Project scope change. Currently, administration is undertaking the preliminary engineering and repair of sidewalks and curbs and asphalt road base to be followed by top lift paving of Muirfield Boulevard and Muirfield Close, as approved within the 2024 capital budget. Tendering and construction of the noted works is currently planned to occur in 2025. A recent review by county staff of the asphalt road base along Muirfield Crescent between Muirfield Boulevard and Muirfield Close has identified, within the attached mapping, identified serious concerns with the overall road condition. Though extensive degradation of the road surface was known to exist, the deterioration of the road surface appears to have accelerated. This acceleration is most likely due to the heavy rainfalls that have been experienced in recent months, penetrating the already cracked road surface and softening the road base, which is then experiencing increased rates of heavy construction traffic, further deteriorating the road. As the 2024 Muirfield Boulevard capital project is currently anticipated to fall well below the current approved budget, staff is recommending adding the additional preliminary engineering scope for the identified portion of Muirfield Crescent to the existing Muirfield Boulevard project, with no additional budget being required to complete the works. A breakdown of the current approved project budget and anticipated costs have been provided within the report. Completing the preliminary engineering work for Muirfield Crescent in 2024 would allow repair and repaving work for this portion of the road to be completed in 2025, 1 year ahead of what is in the existing long-term capital plan. Because of the updated cost estimates for the overall Muirfield road repair and repaving work are significantly lower than what was originally anticipated, it is projected that moving this work to 2025 will have little or no impact to the total projected 2025 capital budget. And that concludes my report. I'm here for any questions. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you for bringing this forward. The road is falling apart faster than anticipated with the amount of growth that's going on there and the heavy trucks. It is definitely, once the water starts getting into the road base, it's falling apart fast. So I'll make the motion that council approve a change in scope to the 2024 capital project, Muirfield Boulevard paving, GO code 6-32-10-6610-23321-005 to include preliminary engineering for the repair and paving of the identified portion of Muirfield Crescent.
Thank you, Deputy Reeve Clausen. Any questions or discussion on the motion? I'll call the question. Councillor Larson?
In favor.
Councillor Kester?
In favor.
Deputy Reeve Clausen?
In favor.
Reeve Link is in favor. Councillor Eichert?
In favor.
Councillor Bigger?
In favor?
Councillor Laprise?
In favor.
Motion is carried. Thank you for bringing that forward. Sorry, getting there. There was no correspondence, so we will move to our closed session agenda items. I'll move us into closed session. I'll call the question. Councillor Laprise?
In favor?
Councillor Bigger?
In favor?
Councillor Eichert?
In favor.
Reeve Link is in favor. Deputy Reeve Clausen?
Oh, yes.
Councillor Kester?
In favor.
Councillor Larson?
In favor.
Motion is carried. Councillor Kester, are you able to hear us?
Yes, I'm able.
Perfect. So council has moved out of closed session and we have motions arising. Let's start with regarding land purchase opportunity. Deputy Reeve Clausen.
Make the motion that council direct administration to further investigate the potential purchase of the subject land and to bring a report back to council with the recommended purchase price and other terms for an initial purchase offer.
Thank you, Deputy Reeve Clausen. Any questions or discussion on the motion? We'll call the question. Councillor Larson?
In favor.
Councillor Kester?
In favor.
Deputy Reeve Clausen?
In favor.
Reeve Link is in favor. Councillor Eichert?
In favor.
Councillor Bigger?
In favor?
And Councillor Laprise?
In favor.
Motion is carried. Let's move to Redland Water Servicing.
I'll move that council directs administration to formulate a final recommendation for an infrastructure plan, including a funding and legal framework to support full recovery of infrastructure installation costs from system users for providing potable water servicing to the community of Redland, and to present the recommendation to council at a future date.
Thank you, Councillor Eichert. Any questions or discussion on the motion? I'll call the question. Councillor Laprise?
In favor.
Councillor Bigger?
Favor?
Councillor Eichert?
In favor.
Reeve Link is in favor. Deputy Reeve Clausen?
In favor.
Councillor Kester?
In favor.
Councillor Larson?
In favor.
Motion is carried. And that brings us to the conclusion of our agenda. Meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everybody.